Chapter 1716. Are they coming out? Wang Feng glanced around. In the next moment, 6 different streaks of starlight rose from 4 different directions. Then, they connected one after another, forming an ancient formation. It enveloped all the soul beasts in that direction. You dare touch the gift of our God. You really don't know what death is. In the center of the array, a group of black-robed people floated in the air. Soul rings flickered around their bodies. There were 10 soul rings, and each of them was a million-year soul ring. Even in the current Douluo world, this kind of soul ring was very terrifying. Each of them exuded a strong aura, but they didn't have the aura of a life soul contract. This meant that they weren't soul contract masters, but pure soul masters. And in today's world, there are basically no pure soul masters. After the war between humans and soul beasts, the soul beasts and humans signed a peace treaty. Hundreds of years later, all the recorded soul masters had turned into soul contract masters. Dad, these are bad people. Little Ice Lotus hurriedly hid her head behind Wang Feng's shoulder. And not just any bad people. Wang Feng touched Little Ice Lotus' head with his hand. Wang Feng looked around. When the array rose, a majestic power enveloped the surroundings, causing the soul beasts inside the array to quickly undergo earth-shaking changes. This is an altar array, Wang Feng pondered. It was to sacrifice these soul beasts to a higher level of life. The Dark Demon Realm had used this method to enslave many small worlds. The process was very simple. It was to send the Demon Monarch to transform the small world's life, and then through the transformed life, he would obtain powerful strength and seize faith to conquer the original world, and then repeatedly conquer the entire world. And those transformed life forms would become the Demon Monarch's dependent life forms. It was a kind of dimensional reduction of a higher level life form to a lower level life form. It was also a more conventional method of conquest. It had to be said that, as the heavenly Tao of the Dark Demon Realm, Yin Qingjue's experience was really rich. Many of the methods were not created by her, but mostly learned from many worlds. But Wang Feng didn't expect that in the current Douluo world, there were actually other gods coveting and spying. What's the name of the god you believe in? Wang Feng calmly looked at the black-robed people in front of him. You have no right to ask. The leader of the black-robed men said coldly, You destroyed our sacrificial tool without permission, which is an insult to our God. However, seeing that you are a native of your original world, I can give you a chance to send a letter to my God. Sacrifice any life you deem valuable to our God. You are qualified to become my God's subordinate. I will bestow upon you supreme glory, and you may even have the opportunity to enter the divine realm and serve my God. Wang Feng laughed. So, you're hiding the void here because you want to sacrifice all the soul beasts in the extreme north? Holy Ghost Church, you're not humans of this world. However, you have soul rings and soul power. You are completely compatible with this world. This is really puzzling, Wang Feng said with a confused look in his eyes. Hee, if you could understand, you would be a god. The leader of the black-clothed men waved his sleeves and spoke in a disdainful tone. The Douluo world is but a small plane, and there aren't many million-year soul beasts in this world. You probably don't even know how we got our million-year soul rings, do you? Could it be that your god bestowed it to you? Wang Feng pretended to make a random guess. Ha, you have some eyesight. The black-clothed man was stunned for a moment before laughing out loud. To be able to destroy our sacrificial tool, it seems that you could be considered a top powerhouse in this world. Cut the crap. I've already given you the choice. The child next to you is a good sacrifice. Don't be in a hurry to be angry. Being able to become my God's sacrifice means that her future is limitless. She can become my God's servant, understand? She can become a true God that transcends this world. This is a great opportunity. The black-clothed man seemed to be very experienced. Look at the 100-year soul rings on our bodies. In this world, there shouldn't be many powerhouses with this number of million-year soul rings, right? My God is omnipotent. The black-clothed man's tone revealed extreme fanaticism. Wang Feng understood this fanaticism. Basically, what he said must be true. Daddy, they're so bad. They actually want the ice lotus. Little ice lotus immediately hugged Wang Feng's neck and said with an aggrieved expression, I don't want it. I want to follow Daddy and find Mommy. Wang Feng smiled, hugged little ice lotus in his arms, and said to the black-clothed man, A million-year soul ring is nothing. I have a 10 million-year soul ring, a billion-year soul ring. Do you believe me? After saying that, Wang Feng's body shook. In an instant, soul rings rose from Wang Feng's body. Each of them exuded a supreme aura, and it wasn't the golden color of a million-year soul ring. It was 7-colored, and it wasn't just 10, there were dozens, hundreds. The soul rings even surrounded Wang Feng's entire body. This is nonsense. The black-clothed man just wanted to refute, but seeing this scene, he was dumbfounded. This sect leader, that's not right. The original Douluo world's 7-colored soul ring. Isn't that the divine ring in the Douluo divine world? And at most, there are 9 divine rings at the divine king level. How can he have dozens? A black-clothed man behind said in a low voice, This is not scientific. Is there a problem with the timeline of our arrival in the Douluo world? Those soul rings are fake, right? Another black-clothed man said in a low voice, I don't think so. Each soul ring exudes a terrifying pressure. It doesn't seem fake. Could it be some kind of powerful illusion? Our bodies have been baptized by divine light. If it's an illusion, we can definitely see through it. Several black-clothed men were discussing in a bewildered tone. The sect leader's face didn't look too good. This wasn't right. The upper realm of the Douluo world was the Douluo divine world. According to the timeline of the Douluo world, when they arrived, the Douluo divine world should have encountered space-time turbulence and lost contact with the Douluo world. Even if they didn't lose contact, there shouldn't be such an abnormal god in the Douluo divine world. This F** King 81 7-colored divine rings. Even a divine king wouldn't be so awesome, right? Is it enough? Wang Feng said with a smile. If you think it's not enough, I can give you a few more. How about it? How is my soul ring compared to your million-year soul ring? The leader of the black-clothed man was speechless. Who are you? He said in a deep voice. Wang Feng didn't speak. Why do these bad guys look so stupid? Little Ice Lotus giggled in Wang Feng's ear. You're not from this world. Wang Feng said slowly, but you're also soul masters from the Douluo world. You're just the remnants of the annihilated Douluo world in another long river of time, right? Moreover, you're the remnants of the Holy Ghost Church. Hearing this, the black-clothed man's face changed drastically. I think you'd better not believe in the God you're talking about. Wang Feng suddenly smiled. How about believing in me? Your God is too stingy, just giving you some flashy million-year soul rings. This thing can at most make you invincible in the Douluo world. But you can't become a god. If you believe in me, I can make you all become gods. The black-clothed man's face changed again, and in the end, he just shook his head indifferently. In that case, you can only die. Wang Feng sighed, and his eyes suddenly changed. Hongmeng originated from the void soul, activated. It analyzed and defined the target in front of him. In just an instant, the color of the soul rings on these black-clothed men disappeared, from million-year soul rings directly to white soul rings, and then all the soul rings disappeared. Their whole body began to reflect light, and, in the light, they turned into a few flies. Come, let's use snowballs to kill flies. Wang Feng condensed a snowball in his palm and threw it out. I want to kill flies. Little Ice Lotus didn't know what was going on, but when she heard this, she immediately became excited. As a result, a few snowballs were thrown at the few flies in front of them. They were easily smashed to death. End of this chapter. Chapter 17:17. They didn't come with good intentions. Wang Feng looked at the silent sky, quietly. Of course, he knew it wasn't those black-clothed men. It was impossible for them to descend from another space-time to this place with their abilities. It could only be that God behind them. Ever since the appearance of Mo Tiance, experts would continue to appear in his line of sight in the endless heaven and the vast universe. Wang Feng naturally wasn't afraid. Furthermore, Judging from the living beings behind these black-clothed men, they might not have reached Emotine's level. It was also possible that they had a different system and called themselves God. However, the title God was nothing. It didn't have any strength. As for these black-clothed men, they were just a few flies to Wang Feng. He hoped that God had some self-awareness and didn't come to this world again. Otherwise, Wang Feng wouldn't be polite. Even if I didn't appear, those black-clothed men wouldn't be able to cause too much of a stir in the current Douluo world. Wang Feng shook his head. Don't be fooled by their million-year soul rings. But if they were to truly use them, with the strength of the current Douluo world's experts and their soul beasts, their chances of winning weren't high. Obviously, they didn't know that the Douluo world that still existed in the long river of time had undergone earth-shattering changes. It wasn't like the original work either. Let's go. Wang Feng took one last look at the sacrificial array in midair. He could actually sense that God through this sacrificial array. But there would definitely be more troublesome things. So, Wang Feng waved his hand and wiped away the sacrificial array, leaving no trace of aura behind. Many soul beasts that were bound scattered and fled. After wiping away the aura of the sacrificial array, Wang Feng left with Little Ice Lotus. At the same time, somewhere in the universe, in a vast galaxy in the divine domain. In the galaxy, there were countless planets in the divine domain or world planes that were like stars twinkling in this ancient and powerful galaxy. In one of the divine domains that wasn't considered big or small, there were thousands of miles of rivers, countless rare and precious beasts, and all kinds of divine plants in the divine domain. In midair, there was a magnificent palace floating. Above the clouds, there were occasional waves of celestial music that was faintly discernible, causing one's heart to tremble. There was a flight of stairs at the bottom of the palace. Outside the staircase, there was a snow-white doorpost with 3 words carved on it. Yintian Palace. And at the top of the palace, a hazy figure was floating in the air. Not long after, the figure suddenly opened his eyes. 6 dead believers? It was the life cult leader of the original Douluo world. Didn't I send them to the Douluo world in another space-time to gather believers? How'd he die? Just now, I seem to have sensed the aura of the sacrificial offering, but it disappeared very quickly. My believer must have met with a mishap, right? That shouldn't be the case. With the strength of the Douluo world, not to mention killing them, it's unlikely that we can even defeat them. I used my divine power to bestow them with 10 million-year soul rings. How could they have been killed? Could it be that there are other gods involved? But there shouldn't be many gods in the Douluo world who know about this. After all, it was just a small world. Furthermore, if a god were to make a move, he would definitely leave behind a trace. Yet, I'm unable to sense it. Interesting. Could it be the Douluo divine realm? Initially, he thought that those fake gods would have some strength. They only gathered faith in the Douluo world. Now, it seems that it won't work. They even dared to make a move on the believers of a god. I can't forgive them. Otherwise, where will I put my title as the god of creation? The figure pondered for a long time and suddenly chuckled. He waved his hand. In an instant, the interior of the divine realm shook. Giant figures rose from the interior of the divine realm. Those were warriors wearing purple armor. Each of them exuded an extremely terrifying aura. Their eyes were cold and emotionless, as if there was only killing. Desolate spawns, purple blood warriors. The figure stood up, standing on top of the palace, looking at these warriors in the clouds. They were like heavenly soldiers and generals. Only 3,000? Not much, but they were the desolate spawns. They were powerful warriors that were created with endless divine power and faith. Each of them could shatter a star with their bare hands, stomp on a planet. One of them could easily destroy a small world like the Douluo world. Even the gods of the Douluo divine realm, 3,000 of them, they could also sweep through them. Forget it, 3,000 is too much. It's a waste. 300 should be enough. The figure pondered for a moment. Over at the Douluo divine realm, calculate the timeline. They should be encountering space-time turbulence soon, right? This is a chance. Go. As he spoke, The number of warriors decreased by 90%. After receiving the order, they disappeared in midair. No one knew where they went. Land of Extreme North, Inner Circle. The Ice Emperor stood on a crystal-clear jade essence tree, looking into the distance. Her green dress fluttered slightly with the cold wind and snow. They disappeared. She thought for a moment and said to the void on the other side, "Sister, those few auras have disappeared. Our land of Extreme North hasn't invaded for many years. Those few auras just now were very special. They seemed to be from our world, but they didn't seem to be from our world." The void trembled slightly, and the Snow Emperor's figure gradually appeared. They should be visitors from another world. The Snow Emperor shook her head gently. They should be very powerful, right? The Ice Emperor recalled those few auras just now. There were so many million-year soul beast auras, and I wasn't familiar with any of them. In the current world of soul beasts, the Ice Emperor knew most of the soul beasts above 100,000 years. She was very clear about the million-year soul beasts. The million-year soul rings of those people didn't have the auras of soul beasts that she was familiar with. Their origins were very suspicious, but they seemed to have disappeared. The Ice Emperor looked into the distance strangely. There were no auras of battle. They just disappeared. What's going on? Even if they were defeated, there should be energy undulations from the battle, right? Why aren't there any? The Snow Emperor pursed her lips and whispered, "He's here." "Who?" The Ice Emperor didn't react. Seeing the Snow Emperor's expression, the Ice Emperor finally reacted. "That man was here." "That's right. Only he has the ability to do so." The Ice Emperor snorted. "He's only here now. I don't think you're that important to him. Speaking of which, it's been so many years. The two of you only interacted for a few months back then. Even if he used his blood to save you back then, the two of you shouldn't have been so close. The feelings between the two of you should have faded after so many years, right?" The Ice Emperor casually asked. "Feelings will fade, but they won't disappear." The Snow Emperor smiled. "As long as they don't disappear, as long as there's still feelings in your heart, the feelings that have faded with time will become even stronger." The Ice Emperor frowned. She felt that her sister's words didn't make sense. "So you're admitting that your feelings for him have faded?" The Ice Emperor asked from a tricky angle. Her sister had been sealed for so many years, but her memories didn't stop at 10,000 years ago. That was impossible. Being sealed didn't mean that her soul was sealed. She could feel the flow of time. Chapter 17:18. "It did fade a lot before the seal was broken," said the Snow Emperor softly. "After I woke up and made a trip to the human world, it didn't fade much. Instead, it deepened." The Ice Emperor twitched his mouth. "That man is really good at playing tricks. He created a soul charmer in the human world. Not only did he become a legend in the human world, but he also touched my sister. He's really impressive." The Ice Emperor didn't believe that man could change the human world's view and change the relationship between soul beasts for her sister. That's impossible. That flirtatious radish definitely had other plans. "What if his feelings for you fade?" The Ice Emperor asked. "Look, he has so many beautiful women around him. You saw it that day. He can't possibly have deep feelings for you. Furthermore, I don't think that he created a soul charmer for you. Even if that's true, you're definitely not the most important among his women." The Snow Empress flicked the Ice Emperor's forehead and said, "You're not him." "How would you know?" "Enemies are often the ones who understand their enemies the best." The Ice Emperor huffed as he held his forehead. "Why are you enemies with him again?" "Love rivals," the Ice Emperor said righteously. "How can I not understand him?" The Snow Empress laughed and pondered for a moment. If it's really as you say, I'll feel it." "How?" the Ice Emperor asked. "I left a trace of longing in the human world. If it's really as you say, he won't take it seriously." The Snow Empress' eyelashes fluttered. "If his feelings for me haven't changed, he'll bring back this trace of longing." After she finished speaking, the Snow Empress looked into the distance. "What trace?" The Ice Emperor was puzzled. "An ice lotus that hasn't bloomed yet." The Ice Emperor rolled his eyes and said, "If his feelings for you are already very faint, sister, why don't you follow me to the greater world in the future? Men are of no use at all. You. The Snow Empress shook her head helplessly at the Ice Emperor and said, "Didn't I just say that it doesn't mean anything if our feelings for each other fade? As long as he still has feelings for me, I will not leave him. Did you see the enemy that day? I have a premonition that he will face even more powerful enemies." The Snow Empress paused. "I can still become stronger. Then what's the point of all this?" The Ice Emperor was very angry. "Feelings, whether or not he felt your longing, is not important. Forget it. I'm so angry. It's meaningful." The Snow Empress pursed her lips and smiled, but it was a smile that the Ice Emperor couldn't understand. "You'll understand when you have someone you like," the Snow Empress said. "Aren't you the one I like?" "I don't understand at all," the Ice Emperor said. "It's not the same." The Snow Empress shook her head. "Your feelings for me are like that of a younger sister. It wasn't a relationship between the opposite sex. In the future, no, perhaps you'll already have someone you like. You'll understand when the time comes." The Ice Emperor's heart skipped a beat, and he hurriedly waved his hands. "How is that possible?" The Snow Empress smiled, but didn't say anything. Not long after, two figures appeared in the distant sky. They don't seem to be the same person," the Ice Emperor said in surprise. As far as the eye could see, other than the man who was still as handsome as ever, there was also a little girl. The Snow Empress was also a little confused. "That child can't be his daughter, right?" the Ice Emperor said subconsciously. "I think I heard the little girl call him Daddy." After he finished speaking, the Ice Emperor was furious. "That stinky man brought his daughter here to find you. I don't know who's his child, but did he bring her here to annoy you? He's so evil." The Ice Emperor was angry. The Snow Empress was silent for a while. Then she forced a smile and said, "It's normal for him to bring his daughter along when he dotes on her." "What normal? Since he came to find you, he should have come alone," the Ice Emperor said angrily. "I think one of the women beside him made him do it on purpose." "Sister, wait for me. I'll make him leave immediately." The Ice Emperor was very angry. He was even angrier than before. However, just as he finished speaking, a leisurely voice sounded. "Make me leave? Scorpion, you haven't changed at all. Why? I just arrived, and you're already chasing me away." At some point, the two figures in the distance were already very close. The Ice Emperor was stunned for a moment. He looked at the man who was a few meters away and the little girl who was holding his hand. This child, why does she look a little like Big Sister? The Ice Emperor suddenly had this thought. However, he immediately shook his head. How is this possible? Nothing happened between me and my sister. Thinking of this, the Ice Emperor walked over and sneered. "If I don't chase you away, do you think I'll let you stay? Why? You're here to see your sister, and you even brought your family along. Are you afraid that others don't know that you're a man with a family?" Stinky man. Wang Feng was stunned for a long time by this sentence. He turned his head and looked at Little Ice Lotus. Little Ice Lotus was also looking at him with her eyes wide open. "Father, who is this fierce sister?" Little Ice Lotus asked in a daze. Wang Feng thought for a moment and said, "She's your aunt." The Ice Emperor's face immediately turned red. "What aunt? I have nothing to do with you. Your daughter calls me aunt. What do you mean?" "Wang Feng, you bastard." The Ice Emperor clenched his fists. Wang Feng felt that something was wrong. "How did I offend you?" "Yes, aunt. Aunt. How did father offend you? Why are you so fierce to father?" Little Ice Lotus hid behind Wang Feng and looked at the angry Ice Emperor. She seemed a little scared. The Ice Emperor looked at Little Ice Lotus, and his anger disappeared for some reason. Perhaps it was because this child was so obedient that he couldn't get angry at her. At this moment, the Snow Empress walked over and said softly, "Stop fooling around." She walked over quietly and looked at Wang Feng. Her gaze was a little gentle, but it was also a little complicated. She then looked at Little Ice Lotus and was stunned for a few seconds. She frowned slightly, as if she didn't understand. "Fooling around? How am I fooling around?" The Ice Emperor said loudly. "Sister, this guy doesn't even know that you miss him. He probably didn't know about it at all. Not only that, he even brought his child with another woman. Isn't he trying to disgust you?" After hearing this, Wang Feng understood. The Snow Empress sighed softly. Wang Feng laughed and pointed at the Snow Empress. He said to Little Ice Lotus, "Little Ice Lotus, this is your biological mother." Little Ice Lotus looked at the Snow Empress from behind Wang Feng and blinked. After that, she tiptoed out. After a while, she seemed to be slow to react. She cheered and walked in front of the Snow Empress. She extended her hands and smiled brightly. "Mother, I want a hug." Question mark. The Snow Empress. Question mark. The Ice Emperor. These two-souled beasts who had lived for many years were stunned for a long time. Chapter 17:19. Little Ice Lotus. The Snow Empress' voice was a little hoarse. "Wang Feng, this child is..." She felt that something wasn't right, but she just couldn't figure out how. This child's aura was very unique. It exuded a spiritual aura that was completely different from hers. But in the haze, he could feel the throbbing of a bloodline connection. However, the Snow Empress couldn't tell. That was because Wang Feng used void matter to form Little Ice Lotus' body. It was very difficult to sense. She was even more confused after hearing Wang Feng's words. I don't think I did it with him. How'd I have a child with him?" Wang Feng knew that she didn't know when he saw the Snow Empress' expression. When did you have a child with my sister?" The Ice Empress asked with a trembling voice. "Impossible. That's impossible." Wang Feng sighed and said, "You created that Little Ice Lotus and placed it in human society. Although I don't know what kind of mental state and situation you were in when you created that Little Ice Lotus, it was created with your life as the foundation. She just didn't have intelligence." As he spoke, Wang Feng rubbed Little Ice Lotus' head and continued, "However, a life-soul contract isn't enough for a budding life to develop intelligence. A life-soul contract allows a young soul beast to develop intelligence when it already has intelligence. It doesn't allow a soul beast to develop intelligence directly. A life-soul contract didn't possess such a powerful ability. It was almost equivalent to enlightening a life form. If a life-soul contract could enlighten a soul beast's intelligence, there wouldn't be a need for soul beasts to breed. Humans could create soul beasts on their own." Little Ice Lotus didn't receive any response. She looked at the Snow Empress with a yearning look, but she was also a little afraid. The Snow Empress seemed to understand something. "If you leave this child in human society, who knows how long it will take for her to develop intelligence?" Wang Feng said, "When I came and saw her, I enlightened her and formed her body." Little Ice Lotus' arrival was very special. Just like how Nuwa created humans from clay, Little Ice Lotus was formed from the Snow Empress' own life energy. However, the Snow Empress wasn't Nuwa. She couldn't give Little Ice Lotus intelligence. Wang Feng had this ability. He enlightened Little Ice Lotus and formed her body. Therefore, the Snow Empress was indeed Little Ice Lotus' mother. Wang Feng, on the other hand, was Little Ice Lotus' guide. In a sense, he was her father. The Snow Empress had a look of realization on her face. She looked at Little Ice Lotus and thought for a moment before hugging her. The same rhythm of life made her feel very close to him. "So it's this little fellow." The Snow Empress pursed her lips as her gaze landed on Wang Feng. "I didn't expect you to use such a method to bring her here." The Ice Emperor also understood something. She looked at the two of them sourly. Her elder sister's gaze was filled with tenderness and sweetness. Clearly, this made her elder sister happier than simply bringing back an Ice Lotus. Nothing could convey the feelings of both parties better than a lovable, living child. The fear in Little Ice Lotus' eyes gradually disappeared as she lay in the Snow Empress' arms. After all, they shared the same origin. The Ice Emperor sighed again and again. She knew that she had no chance at all. Previously, when her elder sister woke up and realized that the world had changed, her feelings for this man, which had faded a little, immediately deepened because she was touched. Now that this fellow's methods were so brilliant and he had used such a trick, wouldn't Big Sister be dead set on him? Oh yes, what happened over there just now? The Ice Emperor changed the topic when she saw Little Ice Lotus and her elder sister's smiling faces. Just now. Wang Feng muttered to himself for a moment before recounting what had happened. The Ice Emperor furrowed her brows after listening to him. She didn't really understand. You don't understand because you haven't seen such a level of power. Wang Feng could tell what the Ice Emperor was thinking and explained, those fellows are soul masters from the primordial dual world in a parallel universe. The universe we're in is a single universe, and there aren't any powerful universe-ranked individuals as of now. Wang Feng sighed slightly. Simply put, there's an even more powerful being behind those black-robed men. I've wiped out those black-robed men. If that person realizes it, he'll definitely be wary and won't come to this world again. Is he as powerful as the soul demon you dealt with the other day? The Ice Emperor asked. Emotiance? The Emotiance I dealt with that day was only a consciousness clone. Naturally, he's much stronger than him. Wang Feng shook his head. However, this world is getting stronger and stronger. The top-notch individuals in this place are already comparable to the gods in the divine realm. The level of power they comprehend involves the origin laws. If the forces from the outside world act recklessly or underestimate this world, they'll suffer a great loss. The Ice Emperor nodded, as if she understood. She asked again, I didn't sense any energy waves from the battle just now. I only felt a powerful force binding that area, and then everything suddenly disappeared. How did you do it? You won't understand even if I tell you, Wang Feng said. The Ice Emperor took a deep breath and looked at Wang Feng with an unfriendly expression. What do you mean? Are you looking down on me? My cultivation hasn't lagged behind all these years. Don't think that you can look down on me and my elder sister just because you're powerful. Wang Feng smiled. The Ice Emperor's cultivation had indeed not lagged behind. The Ice Emperor's strength was around level 120, which was less than a third-grade god in the divine realm. However, it was a pity that third-grade gods needed to comprehend origin laws. Without origin laws, they couldn't advance any further. Furthermore, the cultivation of soul beasts was different from that of gods. The gods in the Douluo divine realm could gather faith and divine rings to comprehend origin laws. They could combine these to become gods. However, it was very difficult for soul beasts to cultivate to become gods. They could only rely on their own comprehension of origin laws and cultivate their divine power. It was very difficult. He didn't mean that. The Snow Empress walked over and said softly, Ice Emperor, you know very well in your heart. I don't know. The Ice Emperor snorted coldly. I think he's just looking down on us because he's powerful. Wang Feng muttered to himself for a moment before changing the topic. I don't feel any traces of a life soul contract in your body. I remember that you signed a life soul contract with a human who took human form. You became his soul-bonded beast. Why is there only one of you now? The Ice Emperor fell silent. There was probably something more to this. Wang Feng remembered very clearly that the soul beast who took human form was called Qingyu. Qingyu is dead, the Ice Emperor said in a low voice. Dead? Wang Feng was stunned. Qingyu was originally an extremely powerful soul beast, the Green Lantern White Jade Dolphin. She was extremely intelligent and took human form. She signed a life soul contract with the Ice Emperor for Ice's 600,000-year heavenly tribulation. After that, she entered the human world and fought with Wang Feng in the Pinnacle Soul Master Tournament. Chapter 1720. The Green Lantern White Jade Dolphin's intelligence and potential are higher than yours even in human form. How did it die? Wang Feng asked in a low voice. The Ice Emperor glared at him. There was a hint of reminiscence in his eyes. After that war, humans and soul beasts entered an era of peace. Qingyu brought me and Xiao Yinyan to the human world and engaged in all kinds of research. The Ice Emperor sighed. Qingyu was very intelligent. She only took a few years to become a Class 9 soul engineer and began to research soul tool technology. And I will be her helper. In less than 50 years, Qingyu invented countless soul tools. From military to civilian use, she invented almost everything. She almost changed the soul tool technology in the Douluo world. In addition, she also studied 2 different life forms, humans and soul beasts, on the basis of life and soul contracts. She discovered that whether it was a soul beast or a human, As long as they were stimulated through special means, their inner potential could be unlocked. Wang Feng. Wasn't this the initial stage of the genetic code? Wang Fengxin was shocked. Qingyu was indeed very intelligent. The intelligence of dolphin creatures was really exaggerated, especially Qingyu, who was not an ordinary dolphin. Qingyu also developed a special soul tool equipment. Once this equipment was attached to a human or a soul beast, it could greatly increase the strength and bond of both parties. But later on, because of the flaws of this equipment, soul masters or soul beasts would greatly reduce their life force and lifespan after using it. The Ice Emperor continued. Qingyu banned its use, but she still didn't stop the research. But this soul tool equipment was too dangerous, so Qingyu wanted to experiment with it herself. Because she believed that once the research was successful, this equipment would definitely change the structure of the whole world and greatly increase the strength of humans and soul beasts. From there, she would enter another realm. Wang Fengxin was secretly shocked. If this damn thing was really developed, it would be equivalent to the Angel Nebula's godly body engine or the Dark Demon Realm's god-slaying ridge. Amazing, but it was a pity that it didn't succeed. So, Qingyu used herself as an experiment? She exhausted her lifespan? Wang Feng asked. Yes. The Ice Emperor's tone was downcast. She used up her lifespan, but she didn't succeed in her research. Although she was a soul beast, that kind of soul tool was too harmful to her body. Later, in order not to affect me, she removed her life contract with Xiao Yinyan and I. Wang Fengxin sighed with emotion. Qingyu was really something. He had changed the world because he had cheated. Of course, from the looks of it now, it wasn't considered cheating. It was just Yin, Qingyue, and the others who had set it up. Qingyu, on the other hand, almost changed the world by herself. Even at the cost of his life, he still wanted to research it. Putting aside the fact that he was capable of doing so, there were only a handful of people who were willing to do so. Wang Fengxin was deeply impressed. However, when she reached the end of her lifespan, she left me the complete set of soul tool equipment that she had created. The Ice Emperor continued. She said that if this set of soul tool equipment can be perfected, it can allow me to reach a higher level and allow me to come into contact with a higher level of power. Tears welled up in the Ice Empress' eyes as she spoke. Show it to me, Wang Feng said. Show it to you. The Ice Emperor was stunned. He wiped the tears from the corner of his eyes. You don't even understand this. What's the use of showing it to you? Wang Feng smiled. This ice scorpion still didn't understand how strong he was. Or rather, he didn't know how strong he was. Ani, Daddy is super powerful. Little Ice Lotus hid in the Snow Empress' arms and waved his hand. After saying that, he was a little scared. He quickly retracted his hand and looked at the Ice Emperor. The Snow Empress rubbed Little Ice Lotus' head and said, Ice Emperor, show him. Seeing this, the Ice Emperor pouted and nodded. However, he didn't have any hope. You leave this place first, the Ice Emperor suddenly said. Question mark? Wang Feng was confused. Leave this place first. Come back later. The Ice Emperor emphasized. Wang Feng looked at the Ice Emperor with a weird look on his face. What? Don't tell me your soul tool equipment is going to explode? After thinking for a while, Wang Feng decided to leave this area and hide his senses. After a while, he heard an intermittent divine will from afar. Ice Emperor, it's done. Come over. Only then did Wang Feng turn around and walk over expectantly. When he saw the Ice Emperor, Wang Feng was stunned. He cursed in his heart. The Ice Emperor in front of him was still in human form. However, there was a slight difference. She wasn't wearing a green dress. Instead, she was wearing a light battle armor. There was a layer of light on the surface of the battle armor. It formed a special kind of energy undulation. It was very special. The key was that this battle armor was a little more revealing than the dress from before. Her arms were still fine. From her shoulders to her waist to her thighs and knees, there were special silver circuits. He didn't know what material they were made of. However, they weren't completely covered. They were only partially visible, revealing her snow-white skin. Wang Feng thought that this soul tool equipment would be a mecca or something like a soulbone said. He didn't expect it to be such a light battle armor. Furthermore, it was aesthetically pleasing. Overall, it looked valiant and sexy. Qing Yu is a talent, Wang Fengxin said. This battle armor was even more sexy than those sexy suits. Are you done looking? The Ice Emperor blushed and glared at Wang Feng. Wang Feng nodded. Not only did this soul tool equipment fit the aesthetic standards of humans, but it was also powered by a strong force. There was a special kind of energy inside that fused with the Ice Emperor's aura. This caused the Ice Emperor's aura to rise. The divine power in her body was boiling and changing. The cells in her body seemed to be burning and exuded a strong force. However, it wasn't complete. This soul tool equipment couldn't completely control that special kind of energy. As time passed, this kind of consumption would increase. It was equivalent to consuming life energy. Once this soul tool equipment could completely control that special kind of energy and maintain it at a certain speed, it would no longer consume life energy. Do you see anything? The Ice Emperor snorted. Forget it. You don't understand soul tool technology at all. Just treat it as a feast for your eyes. You're lucky. Wang Feng pondered for a moment. That special kind of energy was void matter. It wasn't a simple kind of energy. He didn't know where Qing Yu found it. The Angel Nebula used void matter and developed a special void engine. It could greatly increase the strength of angel warriors. However, the Angel Nebula had been researching it for many years. The Douluo world civilization was also very far from the Angel Nebula civilization. Qing Yu is already very impressive to be able to do this. However, to him, this might only be a matter of an instant. I can help you perfect this soul tool equipment, Wang Feng said. Question mark. The Ice Emperor was stunned. What did you say? I said. Wang Feng looked at her and couldn't help but think. If the Snow Empress could wear a soul tool equipment like this, what would it be like? As he thought, Wang Fengxin's heart rippled. It should be very beautiful, right? End of chapter. Chapter 1721. Dispelling the thoughts in his mind, Wang Feng secretly felt ashamed. After all, this was the soul tool equipment that Qing Yu had left behind for the Ice Emperor. It could be considered a seed of soul tool technology. Why did he only pay attention to its aesthetics? You can perfect it. The Ice Emperor looked at Wang Feng strangely. He looked like he was looking at a weird uncle who was trying to trick a little girl with candy. Sister, he must be thinking of something bad. The Ice Emperor rolled his eyes and immediately complained. This was left behind by Qing Yu. I don't want you to perfect it. It's good enough that I let you see it. The Ice Emperor looked at Wang Feng cautiously. Wang Feng shook his head helplessly. He did have some ideas in his mind, but they were limited to the Snow Empress. As for this Ice Scorpion, he didn't have any ideas. Then forget it, Wang Feng said. I'm doing this for Qing Yu's sake. She could create this item, but she couldn't perfect it. It must be a pity. Actually, Wang Feng could find Qing Yu now. To the Ice Emperor and the others, death was just disappearing from this world. However, the Douluo world was under the jurisdiction of the God Realm. After the Douluo world's life forms died, they would enter the God Realm's reincarnation sea. However, the Douluo world had been taken over by the Dark Demon world. The dead souls would enter the reincarnation well to reincarnate. Previously, Wang Feng had encountered the souls of soul bees from the Douluo world in the Dark Demon world soul realm. Therefore, as long as Wang Feng entered the River of Time in the Dark Demon world and searched for Qing Yu's soul, he would be able to find her reincarnation. The premise was that her soul hadn't been destroyed by those soul demons in the soul realm. However, with Qing Yu's intelligence, she wouldn't be destroyed by those soul demons so easily. However, after finding her reincarnation, she wouldn't be Qing Yu anymore. If you put it this way, the Ice Emperor's expression became serious when he heard this. After all, this was Qing Yu's painstaking effort. If it could be perfected, her regrets would be resolved. Are you confident? The Snow Empress walked over and asked softly. 100%. Wang Feng nodded. For me, forget it, it can be perfected. I have seen many similar armors. He wanted to say that it was an easy task for him, but it was Qing Yu's hard work after all. She had spent her life researching it, so it was a little disrespectful to say that. Perhaps the ice scorpion would explode again. Then, let's give it a try. The Ice Emperor hesitated for a moment before agreeing. Are you sure? Wang Feng asked. The Ice Emperor nodded and gritted his teeth. What do you want to do? Stay where you are? Wang Feng's eyes flickered as he activated his Grand Mist source. Everything in the world seemed to be peeled off and analyzed. In Wang Feng's consciousness, they were peeled off layer by layer, turning into their essence, and then analyzed and calculated. Interestingly enough, the structure of this soul tool was somewhat similar to the Dark Devil Realm's God-slaying Ridge. Qing, you must have obtained the deicide spines of those soul demons. This was not impossible. After he left the Douluo world, humans joined forces with soul beasts to fight against the soul demons for many years. Although those soul demons were the cannon fodder of the Imperial Demon Army, a few of them had the deicide spines. Wang Feng's original deicide spines were obtained by killing a Dark Devil Realm chief. The deicide spines were implanted into the soul demons' bodies, but the soul tool was not implanted into the soul demons' bodies. I don't know where Qing Yu found the void substance. This soul tool can be illusory to a certain extent and enter the host's soul space. It will only materialize and attach to the host's body when needed to display a powerful combat strength. Qing Yu is a genius, Wang Feng had to admit. She was the kind of genius who could change the world, the kind that only appeared once every few thousand years. However, this soul tool equipment was too simple for him right now. Wang Feng was not a genius, and he did not need to be. He could create things that were beyond the scope of knowledge of these worlds. According to the normal progress, this soul tool could not be perfected in the Douluo world without thousands of years. However, in front of Wang Feng, this might only take a few breaths' time and consume some of his divine power. He flicked his finger gently, and a faint light that seemed to contain the mysteries of the universe fused into the Ice Emperor's soul tool. The Ice Emperor's body shook. Her body started to glow, and the soul tool seemed to be changing. A ding sound rang in his mind. It was as if something had been activated. Suddenly, Wang Feng was slightly stunned. He sensed the power of a soul. It was in the Ice Emperor's soul tool. Could it be? Wang Feng seemed to have thought of something and flicked his finger again. The light fused into the Ice Emperor's body. An illusory figure gradually surfaced from the soul tool. At the same time, the soul tool also started to change. Its form became more perfect, and its style did not change. However, it seemed to have more texture. A unique charm flowed around the Ice Emperor's body, and her aura started to rise. The Ice Emperor seemed to be in a mysterious state. The Snow Empress wanted to say something, and there was a worried look in her eyes. She's comprehending the origin. This soul tool can unlock the mysteries of her race and unlock her genetic code. Once it's completed, her life will evolve. Wang Feng shushed her softly. The Snow Empress nodded slightly and watched quietly. 3 days passed. The light on the Ice Emperor's body slowly disappeared. Right now, the Ice Emperor's aura was very strong. Her appearance did not change much, and the soul tool slowly fused with her body before disappearing. Suddenly, the Ice Emperor opened her eyes, and an icy light flashed across them. How do you feel? Wang Feng asked. Although he had completed it in a few breaths' time, the Ice Emperor still needed some time to adapt to her new strength and life. The Ice Emperor was silent for a moment and looked at Wang Feng with a complicated look in her eyes. She nodded slightly. When I was analyzing it, I discovered that there was a special spiritual energy sealed in your soul tool. Wang Feng thought for a moment and said, Is it? Before the Ice Emperor could speak, a voice slowly rang out. It's me. In the next moment, a projection surfaced from the Ice Emperor's soul tool. I thought that it would take at least a few thousand years for my spiritual consciousness to awaken. I didn't expect only a few decades have passed. The voice sounded, and there was a hint of meaning in it. This projection was really Qing Yu. Wang Feng smiled, as if he already knew. When he sensed that special spiritual energy earlier, he already knew. Qing Yu had died because she had exhausted all of her life force. This was because she was a soul beast that had taken human form, and she was already considered a human. She did not become a god, and did not have a long lifespan like soul beasts. However, Qing Yu clearly had some understanding of spirits. Therefore, it was very likely that she had injected her spirit into this soul tool to seal it before she died. This was to prevent her spirit from fading away or from being sucked into samsara. Chapter 17:22. At the same time, she could use her spiritual energy to act as the intelligent consciousness of this soul tool equipment. In other words, it was a system. When the Ice Emperor perfected this soul tool equipment one day, he would be able to unlock the internal seal and activate her spiritual consciousness. Wang Feng didn't expect Qing Yu to do this. He only guessed it when he analyzed it with the primordial chaos origin. Judging from the Ice Emperor's expression, it was obvious that she didn't know. Ice Emperor, congratulations on reaching a higher level. Qing Yu floated in midair and looked at the Ice Emperor with a smile on her face. From now on, your potential is limitless. This soul tool equipment will allow you to go further. Qing Yu wasn't lying. Wang Feng's perfected soul tool equipment wasn't inferior to the Angel Nebula's void engine. Furthermore, the Ice Emperor's body had been upgraded. Furthermore, she could continue to upgrade. As long as the Ice Emperor continued to cultivate and become stronger, she would automatically upgrade. Even her current strength wasn't inferior to the third-generation godly body in the Angel Nebula. She might even be stronger. Because of Qing Yu's spirit, she would be able to upgrade very quickly. But the price is you. The Ice Emperor didn't seem very happy. No, not me. Qing Yu shook her head. You should be thanking him. His perfected soul tool equipment is several times more advanced than the one I've developed. Qing Yu's gaze landed on Wang Feng. She sighed and said, the Douluo world has been around for hundreds of years. I can still understand a little from the creation of a life-soul contract. But I don't understand it now. I don't know what level you've reached. After that, Qing Yu continued, but the fact that you're here means that you haven't forgotten your original intentions, no matter what level you've reached. With Qing Yu's intelligence, she could roughly guess Wang Feng's current level. However, she didn't expect Wang Feng to return to the Douluo world and to this place. Wang Feng coughed a few times and looked at the Snow Empress. You can only achieve success if you don't forget your original intentions. Qing Yu smiled. The Snow Empress squinted her eyes. She was clearly very pleased with his words. What a smooth talker, the Ice Emperor muttered. Looking at Wang Feng, he snorted and said, Wang Feng, thank you. It's nothing. Wang Feng waved his hand. What a cocky fart. The Ice Emperor pouted and said, you're really impressive now. Even the soul tool equipment that Qing Yu has been researching for her entire life is nothing to you. It's not a big deal. Maybe he's just being modest. Qing Yu smiled. Maybe it's as easy as lifting a finger for him. It's as easy as a god awakening a 6-year-old child's martial soul. The Ice Emperor was stunned. He felt that this comparison was too modest. Was it that exaggerated? Qing Yu, don't you think this analogy is a bit inappropriate? The Ice Emperor couldn't help but say, you don't have to be so modest, do you? Didn't you say that even the Sun-Moon Empire's Class 10 Soul Engineers won't be able to touch the surface of your soul tool equipment without at least 1,000 years? Qing Yu smiled but didn't say anything. She knew that she was lucky to have been able to research this item. She still lowered her voice. It's indeed inappropriate. Wang Feng nodded and said, I didn't expect you to be so modest. The Ice Emperor was a little surprised as he looked at Wang Feng. I think I should put it this way. Wang Feng continued. It's like a godly king awakening a 6-year-old child's martial soul. The Ice Emperor was speechless. Qing Yu couldn't help but laugh. She wasn't unhappy at all. Instead, she added, I think this analogy is more appropriate. The Ice Emperor rolled his eyes at the two of them. Then from now on, will you always be in this form? The Ice Emperor hesitated for a moment before asking. Yes. Qing Yu nodded. I'm a spiritual body, so I can't appear in this world at will. Otherwise, I'll be suppressed by a mighty force and sucked in. They can only exist in your soul tool equipment as a special spiritual life form with sentient intelligence. I'll help you develop and upgrade this soul tool. Qing Yu is referring to Shiyu's control over the heavenly Tao's samsara. Although the Douluo, divine world, didn't have an organization like the underworld, the black and white impermanence wouldn't detain these souls. However, soul life forms would be automatically absorbed by the sea of reincarnation. That was the power of the heavenly Tao. The powerhouses of the Douluo world, even if they exceeded rank 100, would not be able to break free from the power of the heavenly Tao reincarnation. For example, the dark demon world spirit domain was even more perverse and could directly absorb the souls of other worlds by force. Once they were slaughtered by the dark devil world, their souls would be directly sucked into the soul domain. It's actually pretty good. Qing Yu said, "When you become stronger in the future, you can create a life for me. I can also live in this world in another way." The Ice Emperor's eyes lit up. If that was the case, she would be excited. Wang Feng was silent at one side. With his strength, Qing Yu's soul was still there. It would be easy for him to revive her. However, this was the karma between the Ice Emperor and Qing Yu. He did not need to help. This kind of thing could be left to the Ice Emperor. Wang Feng coughed a few times and said, "All right, that Ice Scorpion, you still need to get used to this soul tool equipment. Qing Yu is here to guide you. Don't delay. Hurry up and go." How could the Ice Emperor not understand that Wang Feng was trying to chase him away? Then he would talk to his sister alone and then whisper sweet nothings to her. The Ice Emperor snorted softly and only said, "Don't bully my sister." After that, he left. Only Wang Feng, the Snow Empress, and Little Ice Lotus were left. "Daddy, I want to play alone. There's a very tall tree in front. I want to climb it." Little Ice Lotus squeaked as she spoke. After she finished speaking, she struggled out of the Snow Empress' arms and jumped onto the ground. She blinked at the two of them. "She's so sensible," Wang Fengxin said. The Snow Empress hesitated for a moment. She wanted to stay with Little Ice Lotus for a while longer. However, Wang Feng said, "All right, be careful. If you're afraid, go and find your aunt." Little Ice Lotus nodded like a chick pecking at rice. Then she skipped away. The Snow Empress blushed. "They're all gone." Wang Feng walked over and hugged the Snow Empress. "It's best to be alone." The Snow Empress did not struggle. She only said, "It's fine if you want the Ice Emperor to leave, but why do you want the child to leave too? Isn't she our child?" "Of course she is," Wang Feng said seriously. "It's just that Little Ice Lotus is sensible. She knows that she should give her parents some time alone. I'm not the one who chased her away." The Snow Empress pursed her lips and punched Wang Feng. "Do you like children a lot?" Wang Feng asked. "I like Little Ice Lotus a lot." The Snow Empress nodded and said seriously, "It's just that you gave her life." She sounded a little guilty. Wang Feng felt the Snow Empress' graceful curves and thought for a moment. "Isn't that simple? We can have another child. What do you think about having another child using the human method?" After hearing this, the Snow Empress' beautiful face turned as red as blood. She sounded a little shy, but she was still very serious. "All right." Her gentle reply caused his heart to flutter slightly. Chapter 17:23. He sent us away. This stinky man wants the two of them to be intimate. Oomph. The Ice Emperor walked to the other side. His voice sounded as if he had eaten a basket of lemons. "Isn't this normal?" Qing Yu floated around the Ice Emperor and laughed. "They already have a child. What's wrong with being intimate? I say, Ice Empress, are you jealous of Wang Feng or of your sister?" The Ice Emperor was stunned. He didn't react for a moment. "What nonsense are you talking about?" The Ice Emperor's face turned red. He glared at Qing Yu. "Don't think that you can tease me as you wish just because you're in spirit form." Qing Yu. It was important to know who to be jealous of. Bing Bing, you've been by my side for hundreds of years as a soul-bonded beast. Qing Yu's expression didn't change. Instead, she looked at the Ice Emperor with interest. "Do you think I don't know you? You don't know." The Ice Emperor raised his head slightly and snorted. Qing Yu smiled. Perhaps the Snow Empress, as her sister, couldn't tell, but she was different. The Snow Empress had been asleep for too long. There were many things that she didn't know. At least, Qing Yu knew that when the Ice Emperor was saved by the life-soul contract created by Wang Feng during the 600,000-year heavenly tribulation, the Ice Emperor probably had the shadow of a certain man in her heart. Qing Yu felt it even more clearly during the summit tournament in the human world. She was extremely angry when she saw that Wang Feng had an intimate relationship with a mysterious silver-haired woman. She said that she did it for her sister and secretly stopped it. In fact, only she knew. Qing Yu knew even more clearly when Wang Feng left the Douluo world a few hundred years ago. Who knew how many times the Ice Empress had secretly gone to the sacred mountain? She even found out a few times. However, she always used her sister as an excuse. She said that she was helping her sister take a look at that stinky man. In reality, Qing Yu sighed and shook her head slightly. At this moment, faintly, a low moan could be heard from afar. The moans made the Ice Emperor's body stiffen. She had heard that sound before. In the human world, such a sound would be emitted during sexual intercourse. Although she had already walked far away, her body had just leveled up, and her senses were extremely powerful. She could sense everything clearly, even though she couldn't control it all. Men only know about those things all day long. Ice Emperor's face was red, but her mouth was full of disdain as she said, "I wonder how long you will bully Big Sister." I didn't expect that a life form at his level would be so passionate about love, Qing Yu said thoughtfully. So what if he's at this level? And he's not a stinky man, the Ice Emperor said. Bing, perhaps you don't understand, but I do. Qing Yu shook her head. Wang Feng's current cultivation base has reached a terrifying height. He's much higher than any god you can imagine. It was reasonable to say that this level of life form had already transcended the mortal world, and it was very difficult for it to be limited by love. Not to mention these kinds of love that only mortal beings are passionate about. In my opinion, it's normal for him to forget your big sister, Qing Yu said. He dares. Ice Emperor didn't understand Qing Yu's words. She didn't need to understand. Qing Yu didn't say anything. Her intelligence was extremely high. Even if she hadn't reached that level, she could feel what kind of existence a higher level of life form was. Soul beasts like the Ice Empress, who were more straightforward, wouldn't think about such things. This sound is too noisy. After a while, Ice Emperor blushed and said irritably, "Forget it. Let's go see Little Ice Lotus. She's my niece." With that, Ice Emperor ran away as if she was escaping, and found Little Ice Lotus climbing a tree in the distance. At this time, Little Ice Lotus was climbing a jade essence tree that was about 100 meters tall. The branches and leaves of this kind of ice tree were crystal clear, and the cold air was oppressive. The branches were covered with many icicles that looked very sharp. Little Ice Lotus was climbing a little strenuously. From afar, she looked like a little worm, wriggling up the tree one after the other. Ice Emperor found it funny, but she was also attracted by Little Ice Lotus's cute appearance. But she didn't help, and instead watched Little Ice Lotus climb up the tree step by step. "Yeah," Little Ice Lotus panted, her face red. She stood on the tree top, swaying back and forth, looking ahead excitedly. But the tree top wasn't stable. She just stood there, but before she could stabilize herself, her body tilted down. "You little brat, be careful." Ice Emperor hurriedly hugged the girl and stood on the tree top again. "Little ant." Little Ice Lotus was startled and looked at Ice Emperor a little embarrassedly. She was probably a little scared. "What? Are you afraid that ant will eat you?" Ice Emperor glared at Little Ice Lotus fiercely and then burst into laughter. Little Ice Lotus also laughed. "Oh, that's right. Little Ice Lotus, tell me what happened on your way here." Ice Emperor thought for a moment and then suddenly asked, "What kind of enemies did that cheap dad of yours encounter on your way here?" Although Wang Feng didn't tell her the details of the battle, she really wanted to know how Wang Feng dealt with the enemy. She didn't sense any battle waves the entire time. Enemies? Little Ice Lotus was a little confused. "I don't think we encountered any enemies." "That's impossible." The Ice Empress looked at Little Ice Lotus in shock. "Good girl, think about it carefully." Little Ice Lotus thought for a long time. With her current intelligence, although the concept of enemies was a little vague, she seemed to have thought of something, and then said, "Aunt, you're talking about those flies, right?" A fly. The Ice Empress was stunned again. Qingyu was also slightly surprised. Ice Emperor had told her what happened just now, so she knew a little about it. But what did this have to do with flies? Good girl, are you mistaken? Ice Emperor rubbed little Ice Lotus' head. They're enemies, not flies. But they're only flies, little Ice Lotus murmured. Tell the child to tell us the whole story, Qingyu reminded. The Ice Empress hurriedly nodded. Little darling, how did that fly appear? Tell me all about it. Little Ice Lotus tilted her head and thought for a moment, and then said, When Daddy came, he took me to play snowball. Then we saw several people in black clothes. Daddy told me to use snowballs to kill flies. Then those people in black clothes turned into flies. Later, Daddy told me that those people were originally flies. Daddy and I used snowballs to kill those annoying flies one by one. Ice Emperor? Question mark. After hearing this, countless question marks appeared in Ice Emperor's mind. What's going on? Those people in black were emitting such a powerful aura, and they seemed to have a bunch of million-year soul rings. How did they turn into flies? Or did they turn into flies? Are you kidding me? Could it be a fly martial soul? Then there should be some battle waves, right? I understand, Qingyu whispered. She glanced at Ice Emperor and gave her a hint with her eyes. Ice Emperor was reminded by Qingyu's gaze and vaguely thought of something. She took a deep breath. You mean? Chapter 17:24. That's right. Qingyu sounded a little shocked. They must have been turned into ordinary flies by Wang Feng. Then, he used ordinary snowballs to smash them to death. The Ice Emperor felt a chill down his spine. She wouldn't be surprised if Wang Feng had killed those men in black through battle. That was because he had always been very strong. Although those men in black had a few million-year soul rings, they couldn't break through that barrier. They couldn't be stronger than Wang Feng. However, to turn them into flies and smash them to death with snowballs, that was beyond her imagination. Now you know what I mean, right? Qingyu looked ahead with a deep gaze. The Ice Emperor was speechless. Even with the strength of those men in black, he could turn them into flies and smash them to death with ordinary snowballs. It was like playing with them. If he really wanted to take them back, they would be gone in the blink of an eye. The Ice Emperor sighed faintly and didn't say anything else. The Snow Empress had the word snow in her name. However, Wang Feng didn't feel cold at all. On the contrary, he felt very hot. It was wonderful. Wang Feng was lying in a small house built from a jaded spirit tree. At this moment, he was thinking about many things as he was in his sage state. After emptying his mind, he even gained some unique insights into the will of Panga's axe that had created the heavens. The Snow Empress' eyes were misty as she rested on his arm. She was still panting, and her face was still red. Wang Feng was deep in thought. She was different from the Qianren Xue. The Qianren Xue was cold and arrogant. He had a dignified aura. After all, he was the queen of the Angel Nebula. After so many years, his aura had probably surpassed that of his mother, who was once the Pope and the leader of the Federation. Such a dignified aura could arouse a man's desire to conquer. Furthermore, the bodies of the angels in the Angel Nebula were perfect. There wasn't a single flaw. That was an extraordinary feeling. However, the Snow Empress had a different style. She was cold and otherworldly. She gave Wang Feng the feeling that she was a snow fairy from the 9 heavens. However, her body gave Wang Feng a feeling of seduction. Only those who had experienced it would understand it. Actually, I feel that the Ice Emperor... The Snow Empress' voice was soft and lazy as she spoke weakly. Ice Emperor, what happened to her? Wang Feng came back to his senses. We've helped her so much. She can't possibly come and disturb us now, right? No. The Snow Empress shook her head. What I want to say is that me? Wang Feng frowned slightly. What about me? You can't really think of snatching you away from me, right? Besides, she was a female scorpion. What did she do? Doesn't she know that she can't even give birth to a child? The Snow Empress was a little embarrassed as she looked at Wang Feng. I'm not talking about that. I'm saying that there's someone she likes. Huh. Wang Feng shook his head. I don't know who the unlucky bastard is to be liked by this ice scorpion. He must have done too many bad things in his previous life. The Snow Empress was a little annoyed as she pinched Wang Feng's waist. The Ice Emperor isn't as bad as you say. Why are you pinching me? Wang Feng was puzzled. It's not like you don't know that Ice Scorpion's personality. She's stubborn and pouting. Normal people will suffer if they're interested in her. Even soul beasts will suffer if they're interested in her, let alone humans. Oh yes, who's the unlucky bastard that the Ice Emperor likes? Wang Feng was a little interested as he asked. The Snow Empress looked at him and didn't say anything. Wang Feng was confused. Why are you looking at me? Suddenly, Wang Fengxian's heart skipped a beat. You mean? Wang Feng's voice was a little shaky. This unlucky bastard can't be. Yes, it's you. The Snow Empress squinted as she looked at him. Suddenly, Wang Feng's expression froze. He felt that something was wrong, and it was ridiculous. Me? How can it be me? That's impossible. I've never flirted with that ice scorpion. Besides, she's so rich. I'm not interested in her. How can she like me? Don't lie to me. Wang Feng felt a chill run down his spine. Logically speaking, Wang Feng wasn't happy that the Ice Emperor liked him. Instead, he was sweating. Although I've been in hibernation for many years, I don't know what happened, but I can feel what my sister is thinking. The Snow Empress was very serious. At the start, I thought that she didn't want you to be with me because of her feelings for me. However, I realized later that she didn't want us to be together because she might stop talking. Wang Feng hurriedly covered the Snow Empress' mouth. That's impossible. Nothing is impossible. Think about it. How many times have you helped her? The Snow Empress sighed. Although she says that you're nothing, she's never looked at anyone else or soul beast other than you. Wang Feng was a little dazed. What's wrong? The Snow Empress looked at Wang Feng with a half smile. It should feel good to be liked. Don't you have a few around you? Wang Feng could tell that the Snow Empress was a little jealous. The Snow Empress wasn't jealous in the past. Even when he talked about his past and his experiences with other girls, the Snow Empress didn't show any jealousy. However, it was different now. Now that they had slept together, the Snow Empress seemed to have changed a little, no matter how cold she was. That's different. Wang Feng hurriedly said, she's your sister after all. Furthermore, you know that I don't have any feelings for her. What's wrong with being a sister? The Snow Empress sounded a little weird. The two I met that day were mother and daughter, right? Aren't you also? Before she could finish, her mouth was covered by Wang Feng. It's really different, Wang Feng emphasized. The Snow Empress laughed and hugged Wang Feng tightly. She whispered, I don't want to talk about this. Who wants to talk about their sister at a time like this? However, I know that you won't stay here for long. I don't want to talk about this when you leave, because you might leave when that happens. Nonsense. Wang Feng glared at her. Although I won't stay here for long, we can meet often. I'm not the same as before. Meeting is very easy for me. However, you have to focus on other things. The Snow Empress shook her head. You won't be thinking about this. That was true. Wang Feng's next plan was to rebuild the ancestral realm after his three souls fused back into one. That would be a huge project. He might meet more enemies. If he wasn't thinking about this, he wouldn't be in the mood for leisure. However, that didn't mean that he didn't have any. However, as for the Ice Empress, Wang Feng might really have forgotten about it. However, it would be more troublesome for Wang Feng to avoid the topic now that the Snow Empress was talking about it. So, have you thought about what to do? The Snow Empress looked at Wang Feng seriously. Wang Feng hesitated for a moment. Why don't we let nature take its course? The Snow Empress was a little stunned when she saw Wang Feng's expression and his answer. After that, she laughed. Chapter 1725. You seem a little afraid? The Snow Empress laughed. How can that be? Wang Feng immediately denied. How can I be afraid of an ice scorpion? Then why do you want to let nature take its course? The Snow Empress asked. Yes, why do I want to let nature take its course? Furthermore, you must have sensed something, right? The Snow Empress lifted her chin slightly. With your intelligence, I don't believe you didn't sense anything at all. I didn't think in that direction. Wang Feng shook his head. Let me explain it to you now. If the Ice Emperor really likes you, what will you do? Are you going to let nature take its course? The Snow Empress repeated her question. With her personality, she won't let nature take its course. Wang Feng pondered for a moment and looked at the Snow Empress strangely. Then what do you want me to do? Do you want me to accept or reject her? The Snow Empress snorted. I'm asking you, but you're pushing the question back to me. You're too much. Wang Fengxin said, neither accepting nor rejecting her is beneficial. If I answer, it won't be as simple as too much. Forget it. Given the Ice Emperor situation, you won't be able to avoid it sooner or later. You'll have to make a choice one day. The Snow Empress sounded a little lazy. Actually, whether you accept or reject her, Wang Fengxin was delighted when he heard this. Does the Snow Empress support me? That's great. I won't support either, the Snow Empress continued. Wang Feng, then isn't letting nature take its course the best way to deal with this? If you accept it, you'll have another woman by your side. If this was in the past, I wouldn't have minded. But now, I can understand what she's thinking. The Snow Empress said slowly, no one wants to share a lover with someone else. That's why I won't support you if you accept it. But if you reject it, the Ice Emperor will be very sad. She's my sister, after all. We've been together for tens of thousands of years. I don't want her to be sad. Wang Feng was enlightened. No wonder the Snow Empress would ask such a question. In fact, she didn't have an answer to this question. No matter how she answered, she wouldn't be satisfied. Women weren't magnanimous. The Snow Empress was a soul beast, and her views were different from those of human females. However, she wasn't the kind of magnanimous woman who could remain calm as she watched more and more women around her man without any emotions. Let's talk about it later. Wang Feng said, I think with the Ice Emperor's personality, even if she likes me, it's different from you. Moreover, now that she has obtained a new power, her mind should be immersed in it. When she becomes stronger in the future, the sky will become wider and wider. Perhaps then she will understand her true feelings. The Snow Empress was a little embarrassed. Although Wang Feng was obviously trying to evade her request, it did make some sense. It was still acceptable. Wang Feng looked at the sky and said, it's still early. Let's exercise a little more. Make sure you're pregnant with a real life. Don't. The Snow Empress tried to push him away. However, under Wang Feng's superb methods, the two words don't gradually became the last word. Time passed slowly. Wang Feng stayed in the extreme north for a long time. He wasn't in a hurry. The flow of time in the Douluo world wasn't synchronized with the flow of time in the God realm. Although the Douluo world was steadily improving, it still lacked a foundation and couldn't be compared to the God realm. Therefore, the flow of time couldn't be synchronized with the God realm. It wouldn't hurt to stay here for a few more days. About 2 to 3 months later, Wang Feng's days were very carefree. Although the extreme north was a world of ice and snow, but with the Snow Empress in his arms, it was like a warm jade. It was unusually comfortable. He also brought the little ice lotus to tour the extreme north and many soul beast forests. It was considered a honeymoon with the Snow Empress and teaching the little ice lotus. After that, they went to the human world. The Snow Empress and Wang Feng disguised themselves as a mortal couple and brought the little ice lotus to tour the Federation. They saw the changes in the Federation and saw all kinds of soul tools. There were many changes that even the Snow Empress and Wang Feng didn't expect. There were also changes brought about by soul charmers. Wang Feng could basically collect a considerable amount of faith power every day in the Douluo world. As for the Ice Emperor, it was as Wang Feng expected. She wholeheartedly immersed herself in the process of cultivation. With the help of Qing Yu, she developed the inherent potential of the soul tool equipment and became stronger day by day. It wasn't until a few months later that Wang Feng left the Douluo world under the reluctant gazes of the Snow Empress and the Little Ice Lotus. He went to the Dark Demon world. However, on the way to the Dark Demon world, an interesting thing happened that made Wang Feng feel a little interested. God Realm, Void Space Region. The Douluo Divine World is in front. Our destination. Somewhere, a door of light produced a violent fluctuation in the void. Then, warriors wearing purple armor walked out from inside. All of them emitted an extremely powerful aura, as if they were war gods. There were only 300 of them. I'm from the Purple Blood Battle clan, a famous warrior on the universe's desolate race list. If not for my god's order, it would be a waste of talent to conquer such a world. My god was too cautious. The general in charge looked ahead with a cold gaze. He held a spear made of black light in his hand. His eyes seemed to sparkle like planets, pulsating with a soul-stealing light. General, according to my god's calculations, the space-time turbulence will attack in about one more universe. At that time, with the strength of the gods here, it should be very difficult to resist the space-time turbulence of such a high-dimensional multiverse. Most of the gods here will be trapped in the space-time turbulence, and the heavenly Tao of this world will collapse directly. A purple blood warrior said, "According to my god's plan, we only need to take the opportunity to save them and bestow them with kindness. Then, we can easily gain the trust of these gods and give them our god's power. Although we can't let them surpass a higher level, we can make them deeply grateful to our god. The gods here are really weak." The general in charge shook his head slightly. It's not that they are weak. The space-time turbulence is the chaos of the multiverse's long river of time and space. When it drowns the unit universe, it's not just their god realm that will suffer. The other planes in this unit universe will also be affected by the space-time turbulence and undergo space-time changes. However, as the leader, the god realm will have to bear the brunt of the space-time turbulence. As the general in charge of the 300 Purple Blood Warriors, he had been to many large worlds in such unit universes. The gods here could not be considered weak. They were still quite strong. Unfortunately, the upper limit was only so high. In this universe, they could not reach a higher level. Unlike their god, who had unlimited potential, space-time turbulence like this was actually a good thing for them. It might even push them into the long river of time and space of the multiverse, giving them a chance to jump out and become powerful beings. End of chapter. Chapter 1726. But the prerequisite was that they had to survive it. Even the space-time turbulence caused by the space-time river in a unit universe contained the great will of time in the universe. There was no living being in this universe that could transcend it. They could only go with the flow. They were lucky to survive in the space-time turbulence, to be able to keep their lives. The general calculated the time. The 300 Purple Blood Warriors waited silently. After an unknown period of time, the general's eyes suddenly flashed. The space-time turbulence is here. This was the moment he had been waiting for. In an instant, the 300 Purple Blood Warriors opened their eyes at the same time and stared into the distance. The space-time turbulence was very difficult for the gods of this world, but they had the support of a special divine light and were not affected by the space-time turbulence. But they still had to be careful. But a moment later, there was no movement in the surroundings. The general's mind jumped. According to the calculation of time, it should be just right. Why was there no movement? Usually, when a space-time turbulence struck, the entire world would be turned upside down because the entire Douluo divine world would be drifting in the space-time turbulence. The changes caused by it were bound to be earth-shattering. The divine world would also have some collapses and be nibbled away by the endless power of time. Countless gods would be deprived of their lives under this chaotic space-time power, or they would be thrown out of the universe and turn into dust particles in the endless starry sky. In short, it was impossible for there to be no changes. My god's prediction can't be wrong. Could it be that a third party did something? The general pondered. My god would not be wrong. There was no problem with the timing of the prediction. Then, let's report to my god and see what he has to say. At the same time, divine world, Shiyu tiptoed and looked at the golden sea surface in the sea of reincarnation. Wang Feng's avatar in the divine world smiled, but did not say anything. That, Shiyu said with uncertainty. It's settled. It's settled. Wang Feng nodded. How? She looked around again. Why didn't I feel it? If you can feel the space-time turbulence, then the divine world is now involved in it, Wang Feng said. Shi gently touched her chin with her hand and pondered. After emotience was dealt with, Wang Feng's body didn't leave the divine world immediately. That was because Wang Feng could feel a special power rushing toward the divine realm. It was the power of time. It was the river of time. Wang Feng, who had already cultivated the primordial wheel time soul, was extremely sensitive to time. Not to mention that his initial wheel time soul was cultivated from the river of time. Naturally, he had long sensed the sudden space-time turbulence. She was only the heavenly Tao of the God realm, so she naturally couldn't sense the power that came from the river of time. Especially now, she had yet to transcend and become a universe-level life form, so it was even more impossible for her to sense it. How did you solve it? She thought for a moment. If I didn't know how you cultivated your primordial soul, I would have thought that you were lying to me. The space-time turbulence itself is caused by the river of time. To me, resolving it is actually very simple. Wang Feng explained, I only need to use the soul of the initial wheel to slightly change the trajectory of the long river of time. However, the changes can only delay the time slightly. The space-time turbulence will still come. She was stunned for a moment. Isn't that useless? The debate in the God realm can't bear such an impact. Don't worry, I will delay the time so that you can be mentally prepared. Wang Feng said simply, I plan to enter this space-time turbulence and cultivate my primordial will-time soul again. When the time comes, I will cultivate the intersection of yin and yang together with you, and yin qingjue to strengthen my primordial will-time soul. The soul energy produced will be just enough to complete the last few fragments of the Pangu Axe's true soul. Something happened on Douluo's side, so I can't inherit the origin calamity God King's universe will for the time being. However, there is still a heaven-splitting will in Pangu Axe, which may allow me to become a universe-level life form. This is a good opportunity. Shiyu understood. Is there danger? Shiyu's tone was very serious. Danger? Wang Feng smiled. There is danger, but you have to understand. As long as the primordial wheel time soul is cultivated in any river of time, there is no solution. Even if a universe-level life form appears, unless he can annihilate this river of time, he won't be able to cause any substantial harm to me. She frowned slightly. Was it that powerful? A universe-level life form was beyond the river of time and was not affected by the will of time. However, to annihilate a river of time at this level meant that one would have to annihilate a timeline of the multiverse. This meant that one would have to destroy a unit universe. The time turbulence caused by this river of time was not an ordinary time turbulence, but a time that could cause chaos in an entire unit universe. Not to mention the God world, even the Dark Demon world would be greatly affected. Even the time in the other universe connected to the wormhole in the Dark Demon world might be slightly affected. It was very abnormal. But can you withstand the impact of this time turbulence? The primordial wheel time soul is not omnipotent, right? She was still a little worried. So, don't I still have you guys? Wang Feng shook his head. In the process of cultivation, my primordial wheel time soul is constantly absorbing the power of time and space in the turbulence. The stronger the impact, the faster the cultivation speed. With you and Yin Qingjue, both of you cultivating the yin-yang intersection origin, my two primordial will time souls will cultivate extremely quickly. As long as the cultivation speed is fast enough, the impact of this time turbulence will not be able to keep up with my speed of becoming stronger. Naturally, there will be no danger. She was silent for a while. So, this is an opportunity. Wang Feng's eyes flashed, and it is an opportunity to rebuild the ancestral realm. She was stunned again. What does this have to do with rebuilding the ancestral realm? She could not help but blurt out, You will know when the time comes. She snorted softly. She was a little curious about what Wang Fengxin was planning. Are you ready? Wang Feng asked. Yes, she replied. It's coming. Wang Feng whispered, "Let's go." In an instant, his whole body glowed with a bright silver light and finally became invisible, as if he had disappeared. Then, before she could say anything, he also disappeared. At the same time, my God said that there were some problems with the calculation. Time will go back a little, but it's not a big deal. When we know this news, the time turbulence should be here. The general listened to God's orders. Just as he finished listening, his mind shook. In an instant, he felt an unparalleled power surging towards him from all directions. That was the power of time. The general looked up at the sky and saw that everything seemed to be in a state of stillness. As if time was not moving, an invisible river appeared in their souls, rippling through the entire world. End of chapter. Chapter 17:27. Chant the formation. As the world turned upside down, the 300 purple blood warriors shouted in unison as they began to mutter an ancient tune. Following that, the bodies of these warriors began to turn transparent, as if they had disappeared from this world and entered a mysterious state. The entire world was in chaos because of the space-time turbulence. However, these purple blood warriors who had entered a certain state were not affected. Phew! The general in charge exhaled softly. This space-time turbulence was not simple. This was a turbulence caused by the long river of time and space. The vast river of time was not something that anyone could withstand. Even if they could withstand the river of time for a while, they would be annihilated by the will of time and space in the river. Of course, with our God's divine light, they would not be affected by the space-time turbulence. At this moment, in the eyes of these 300 purple blood warriors, the small plane in the void domain was also turned upside down, and they were in a formless stream of light. This stream of light was the space-time turbulence. The chaotic space-time energy was floating around them. Their bodies were dyed with a faint layer of light, blocking out the space-time energy, and were safe and sound. Be on guard. We are in the long river of time of this world's universe. This turbulence could hit us at any time. The general instructed, "Our goal is to use this opportunity to subdue the group of gods in the Douluo divine world." In a moment, when they also fell into this turbulent flow, they would definitely panic and fall like an avalanche. When that time comes, we will display our God's power and make them believe in our God. When that time comes, the entire Douluo divine world and all the subsidiary planes will become our God's believers. Yes, the purple blood warriors with cold expressions answered one after another. It was urgent. They waited quietly. This space-time turbulence would definitely hit the divine world. The void domain, a subsidiary plane of the divine world, had already fallen. Next would naturally be the divine world. At this moment, in this stream of light, the general in charge could feel the movement of the space-time turbulence. The destination was obvious. It was the coordinates of the divine world. He looked ahead, his eyes glowing with a dazzling divine light. "Time will God's eye," the general shouted. The God I bestowed by our God could see the flow of time. Normally, it was only used to examine the history of the many small planes beneath our God. At this moment, using it to sense the movement of the space-time turbulence was the best way to use it. The deity realm is just up ahead. As the surrounding streams of light exploded, the vast river of time and space began to surge wildly. The general stared at him closely. He could already sense the barrier of the God realm. The void dimension space domain was only a wall away from the Douluo divine realm. But at this moment, all of a sudden, a giant hand shot out from the barrier of the divine world. In his hand was a huge blade that seemed to be able to split the universe. It directly tore down from the sky. In an instant, the surging river of space-time that had transformed into a chaotic flow of space-time was directly blocked outside. It was as if the floodgates of a dam had been closed. The general could only feel a frenzied surge in the stream of light. The 300 purple blood warriors had to rely on each other to prevent themselves from being swept away. "What's that?" The general was extremely astonished. "Who's helping the Douluo divine realm?" cutting off the river of time. That hand and that blade were able to keep the turbulent river of time at bay outside the barrier of the Douluo divine realm. Cutting off the river of time. This was the river of time of this universe. Unless this universe produced a universe-level life form that could transcend the river of time, it was impossible for them to have the ability to do so. No, even if they could transcend the river of time, they might not be able to cut off the river of time so easily. Could it be that a universe-level god from another god system has made a move? The general had a bad feeling in his heart. That was not very likely. This universe was relatively barren and weak. In the primordial god system universe where my god was, there were almost no universe-level gods that paid attention to this universe. General, the situation doesn't seem quite right. A deputy general said softly. That palm just now cut off the flow of the river of time with a single blade. I'm afraid this turbulence won't rush into the Douluo divine realm for a while. The general naturally knew, but the current situation was unexpected. He could only brace himself and wait. At this moment, that giant palm suddenly retracted. 3 figures from the barrier of the god realm took the initiative to rush into the river of time. What's going on? There are gods who took the initiative to enter the river of time. The general's heart was filled with doubts. But now that they were in the river of time, it would take a certain amount of time to contact my god. Currently, he had to rely on his own experience to deal with it. After thinking for a few seconds, the general decided to advance together. Send 10 warriors to contact my god first and ask how to deal with this situation. The general said in a deep voice, "The rest of you, follow us first. Let's go and see what's the situation with those 3 gods." The deputy general nodded slightly and responded. Then, he brought several purple blood warriors and temporarily disappeared into the river of time. The general carefully brought the remaining purple blood warriors and followed the direction of those 3 figures in this endless stream of light. Is this the river of time of our universe? Amidst the endless stream of light, Wang Feng brought Shiyu and Yin Qingjue into this rolling river. The river of time of the universe contained the development of the entire universe, the changes of countless civilizations, the destruction and birth of worlds. It seems like we can't see anything. Shiyu followed Wang Feng. Her body was enveloped in a faint soul energy. That was the space-time aura emitted by Wang Feng's initial wheel soul. It wasn't affected by the river of time. Of course you can't see anything, because you don't have the strength to spy on the time of our universe. Wang Feng said bluntly, "You are only the heavenly Tao of the God world. The God world can barely be considered a large world. But in the universe, there are countless large worlds. You can be considered as a derivative of the God of creation who created the God world. With my current realm, that God of creation might not have completely become a universe-level life form. Even if he did, he might have already gone to another universe." Shiyu glared at Wang Feng with dissatisfaction after being belittled. Once used, there was no value. Previously, when Wang Feng wanted to cultivate the yin-yang intersection origin with her, she was sick of hearing all kinds of compliments. Now that he had cultivated his initial wheel soul and defeated Mo Tyant's consciousness clone, his attitude was completely different from before. Of course, as a heavenly Tao with a more Buddha-like nature, she wasn't disappointed. Actually, Wang Feng didn't change much. He had always been speaking the truth. "Can you see it?" Yin Qingjue asked. Wang Feng smiled faintly and said, "Of course. Furthermore, I also sensed a few pleasant surprises in this river of time. Take a guess. Could it be related to Mo Tyant's?" Shiyu asked casually. Wang Feng looked at Shiyu in surprise. "That's right. You guessed it. In this boundless universe-time river, I did sense Mo Tyant's figure. This means that I might be able to find his hiding place." Chapter 1728. This was good news. It meant that Yin Qingjue's last 2 incomplete wills of the heavenly embryo were settled. "What else?" Shiyu asked. "Another surprise?" Wang Feng leisurely looked in another direction. "There are some extraterrestrial visitors hiding in this long river of time." Shiyu and Yin Qingjue were slightly shocked. This wasn't a surprise. You mean, Shiyu asked, this space-time turbulence isn't produced for no reason? Perhaps. Wang Feng thought for a moment. But for now, I should cultivate first. This cultivation will take a little longer. However, once I absorb the space-time power of this long river of time, even if I don't have 3 souls as one, just the initial will-time soul will reach the universe level. In theory, to become a universe-level life form, one needed to obtain the will of the universe. But Wang Feng's cultivation was extremely special. His soul was the initial wheel-time soul, and it was cultivated by absorbing the space-time power of the long river of time. And the long river of time contained the will of time. For example, the long river of time of the God world was a branch of this universe's long river of time. The time of the entire universe was like a boundless long river, and the long river of time of the countless planar worlds in the universe was like the streams of this long river of time, converging to form this entire universe's long river of time. In the universe, the flow of time in different planar worlds was different, and the flow of the rivers in these branches was also different. Some flowed rapidly, some flowed slowly. The reason why the God world was hit by this space-time turbulence was because this long river of time produced an intense flow of water, which hit the branch of the long river of time in the God world. Then the entire Douluo God world was hit by this impact. But it was this impact that allowed Wang Feng to feel this universe's long river of time and enter it. Take a peek. And the will of time contained in this long river of time was the strongest. He absorbed the space-time power to cultivate the initial wheel-time soul, which was equivalent to cultivating the will of time in the long river of time into his soul. If he could absorb the space-time power of the entire long river of time, then his initial wheel-time soul would reach a whole new level. But this long river of time was endless. Whether it was the Douluo God world or the branches of the long river of time in the dark demon world, they were worlds apart from this long river of time that represented the entire universe. He had no idea how long it would take for him to finish absorbing all of it. Of course, as the soul of the primordial wheel, it had transcended the river of time. Wang Feng could easily freeze time at this moment. At this moment, he could be endless. As for the other worlds, they were relatively still and would not undergo any changes. It was equivalent to his primordial spirit transcending his primordial spirit in an instant and reaching a higher realm. However, this was just like cultivating in the chaos. He still had to endure endless loneliness. Time didn't flow in the outside world, but it didn't mean that the process of absorbing was also static. Fortunately, there were at least 2 companions this time. Are you ready? Wang Feng glanced at the 2 of them and said, the training this time will be much longer than before. Of course, the outside world can't feel it, but we can. I'm not asking for much. I just want to absorb 1/10 of the space-time energy in this river of time. I have no problem. Yin Qingjue nodded slightly. Cultivating the yin-yang fusion origin was also beneficial to one's soul. As for the boring cultivation process, to her, tens of thousands of years were nothing. She was a little hesitant, but she also nodded. In the next moment, the 3 of them formed a line with Wang Feng in the center and Shiyu and Yin Qingjue on both sides. Originally, Wang Feng wanted to bring Yin Mengyao over to cultivate together. After all, she was also the heavenly Tao of the ancestral realm. However, the ancestral realm had just been born, and Yin Mengyao was very weak. It was very difficult to cultivate here. He could only temporarily let Shiyu and Yin Qingjue, these 2 powerful heavenly Tao, and his 2 primordial spirits cultivate here. This was because the yin-yang fusion origin could only be cultivated by a yang soul and a yin soul at the same time. Without Yin Mengyao, the primordial spirit of his main body in the Douluo world couldn't come over. This would cause an imbalance between yin and yang. Wang Feng, who was in the center, had 2 light figures flickering around him. They were the 2 primordial spirits that he had cultivated in the God world and the dark demon world. Shiyu and Yin-Qing-Ju souls were two yin souls that reflected a yang soul. In an instant, the vast space-time energy in the river of time surged wildly and rushed towards Wang Feng. The space-time turbulence, which was already extremely chaotic to begin with, rushed towards them ferociously. Rumble. Shiyu and Yin-Qing-Ju had just started cultivating when their expressions changed. The space-time flow is attacking us. Shiyu could only feel a dizziness in her soul, as if it was about to be torn apart. Only Wang Feng had cultivated the primordial spirit of the primordial spirit. They were not affected because of the space-time energy emitted by the primordial spirit of the primordial spirit. Wang Feng was not affected by the space-time flow, but they could only slow down the impact. After all, they were not primordial spirits. Wang Feng pondered for a moment and said, "Come closer and let your souls touch. Let my primordial spirit of the primordial spirit completely envelop you. This impact will be ineffective against us." This time, she had no doubts. Her soul floated and flew directly to Wang Feng's primordial spirit of the primordial spirit of the primordial spirit. When their souls touched, the feeling of yin and yang merging was even more obvious. On the other side, Yin-Qing-Ju did not have any resistance. This kind of cultivation was really pure cultivation. Much better. She nodded slightly and said, "Let's begin." This time, the three of them were not affected at all. He quietly cultivated in this long river of time. At the same time, the general of the purple blood warriors who had been following the three of them also followed. They carefully walked in the endless stream of light. "Stop!" the general suddenly shouted. This time, oh God, I had sensed it. They took the initiative to fly into the space-time flow. Are these deities crazy? Even if they want to die, it is not so obvious. Just now, there was clearly another existence who was at least at the heavenly cosmos god level helping these deities cross the river of time. They actually took the initiative to fly in. "General, this is also a chance for us," a deputy general suggested. "No, since there are other heavenly gods involved, this matter is not so simple. I think this heavenly god should not be on the same side as our deity. Otherwise, he would not have taken action midway." The general denied. Maybe the Douluo divine world has already been affected. These deities who entered the space-time flow were most likely expelled. Since they were expelled, it means that there is something wrong with these three deities. Deities with problems are not worthy of our deity's glory. Later, we will just quietly watch them fall. After that, we will wait for our deity's orders. It would be best if our deity could come personally. Just as he finished speaking, a warrior suddenly said, "General, look, those three deities." Why does it seem like there are four of them? What are they doing? The general looked towards the direction of the voice and immediately took in a breath of cold air. Chapter 1729. The general looked over and saw four figures standing in the distance. All the space-time energy around them gathered like a storm and wrapped them in it. Then, like a myriad of streams returning to the sea, they fused into it. Although the figures were blurry, as God's kin, as one of the top desolate breed kin, the general could see that they were absorbing the space-time energy in the long river of time. And as they cultivated, the space-time turbulence became more vigorous. It was like a space-time beast that had lost control in the long river of time, rampaging. "Retreat," the general ordered. He suppressed the shock in his heart and ordered the surrounding purple blood warriors to retreat. If they were to charge forward now, the space-time energy in the center would crush them into pieces. It was like a hurricane or a tsunami in the sea. This long river of time was usually calm. They relied on the god light to protect them and were not eroded by the space-time energy. But once this long river of time went berserk, it would not be so simple. "General, are these really gods from the Douluo divine world?" A deputy general said with a trembling voice. "To be able to cultivate in the long river of time, even our God can't do it. This long river of time in the universe contains the supreme will of time. Only when our God becomes a true God can he not be affected by it. But this kind of cultivation has never been seen before. Then the Douluo divine world has experts of this level. The deputy general's tone was extremely doubtful. But the reality in front of him was not a fantasy. Moreover, the remaining might coming from that direction made them tremble in fear. The general did not speak. If not for the will of God supporting him, he would have left at this moment. It was too dangerous. But as a God's kin, he had the utmost faith in his God. Without orders, he would not leave. It was just that the fear of pure power and the negative thoughts that arose couldn't be offset. Even as a purple blood warrior who had experienced hundreds of battles, witnessed the destruction of countless worlds, and slaughtered billions of lives were no exception, no matter how strong the genes of their race were. But in front of the gods from the God system universe, they were nothing. This was also the reason why they, the purple blood warriors, could only be classified as a desolate breedkin. Wait, the general said softly. Wait for our God's orders before we move. Right now, we can't make any movements. The other party is cultivating. They might have already sensed us, but they don't know who we are, so they won't pay attention to us. But against an expert of this level, if we even think about it, we will definitely die here. What a joke. An expert who could absorb the long river of time and withstand the will of the long river of time in the universe was not someone they could deal with. In particular, the giant palm and blade that had just sliced through the river of time were enough to prove that the Douluo divine realm was most likely not as simple as it appeared to be. The general had made the right choice. Wang Feng had long sensed their presence. Wang Feng really didn't know the origins of these giant warriors who seemed to have come from ancient times. But since the other party didn't move, Wang Feng couldn't be bothered with them. He just needed to cultivate quietly. However, Wang Feng was distressed. His cultivation speed was too fast. No, to be more precise, this river of time was too vast. It was the long river of time of this unit universe and contained countless branches of time. Previously, when Wang Feng absorbed the divine world and dark devil world's long river of time, he could be considered to have spent quite a bit of time. But this long river of time was equivalent to the number of long rivers of time in the divine realm and the dark demon realm. Even if Wang Feng had already cultivated to the state of the soul of the initial wheel, the speed of cultivating the yin-yang intersection origin would be much faster. But he couldn't cultivate 1/10 of it in a short period of time. Not to mention 1/10, even 100th or 1/10,000th of it was very difficult. Although the cultivation speed was slow, the strength of the soul of the initial wheel increased very quickly. There was no other way. This long river of time had too much space-time power. The speed is too slow. If this goes on, not to mention 1/10. Wang Feng sighed. Actually, he could cultivate a little faster. But Wang Feng couldn't make this long river of time more violent, because this long river of time was too exaggerated and endless. The momentum caused by Wang Feng's cultivation was equivalent to throwing a bomb on the sun. 1/10 was because Wang Feng didn't expect this long river of time to have no end before he started cultivating. And causing space-time turbulence to attack the divine realm was only the tip of the iceberg caused by this long river of time. It just happened to bump into the branch of the divine realm's long river of time. If he could make this long river of time more violent and make the space-time turbulence stronger, Wang Feng could take the opportunity to expand the range of his cultivation and increase his cultivation speed. But this was too troublesome. Wang Feng would have to spend a lot of effort to cause a bigger space-time turbulence. So he might as well continue cultivating. I can't be too greedy. I'll absorb as much as I can. Wang Fengxin thought. Once this space-time turbulence calmed down, his cultivation speed would drop drastically. At that time, he could either continue to absorb all the space-time power in this long river of time, or he could only come out earlier. Otherwise, it wouldn't be so easy to enter this long river of time again. So Wang Feng said that this space-time turbulence was an opportunity. Wang Feng felt as if he was looking at a mountain of gold in front of him, but he only had a small iron pick. Only he could dig it out. But his speed was too slow. It was too difficult to dig out this mountain of gold. Wang Feng's primordial spirit gradually improved, and his soul became stronger. In the process of absorbing, Wang Feng saw the birth and destruction of many worlds and the rise and fall of many civilizations. But as a unit universe, destruction meant disappearance, and there was no repetition. This long river of time contained the rise and fall of this universe. Wang Feng could even see the situation before the divine realm was created. The god of creation who created the divine realm was also a great existence. The creation of the Douluo divine realm might have been a casual creation by the latter. But it was a pity that such a great existence didn't become a universe-level life form. But what was interesting was that the other party had passed a round of primordial calamity. One had to know that a primordial calamity was 129,600 years. This was the lifespan of a universe-level life form, and also the first round of the primordial calamity. This kind of calamity was something one had to pass after becoming a universe-level life form. Otherwise, one would die. But this god of creation lived for 129,600 years. He didn't obtain the will of the universe, but relied on the 5 supreme origins and his unparalleled body to pass the first round of the primordial calamity. But after passing it, he didn't live for long. It wasn't like what Wang Feng had imagined. He didn't go to another universe. In the end, when his lifespan was nearing its end and his strength was declining, he used his own origin to create the divine realm. Chapter 1730. It's a pity, Wang Feng shook his head. If this god of creation of the godly realm had even one type of willpower, he would have been able to safely become a universe-level life form, transcending the river of time, other than knowing some history. Wang Feng also saw the development of many worlds. This was the second surprise Wang Feng felt. Most of them included the worlds on the Saint Spirit list in the Dark Demon world, such as the immortal ancient nation. Basically, the wormholes in the Dark Demon world led to the same universe. The only special one was the one in the Qian Rinxue universe. However, the universe there had a shorter history. The angel civilization was able to rule the universe in tens of thousands of years and had yet to discover a stronger civilization before them. This was enough to show that the universe there had a very short history. Relatively speaking, the universe where the Douluo divine world was located had given birth to many powerful civilizations. Unfortunately, most of them were destroyed by the initial wheel calamity. Coincidentally, at this point in time, the second round of the initial world tribulation was extremely close. The divine world would probably arrive in another 100 years or so. Wang Feng vaguely knew that the universe here was also very weak. Some of the universes had even passed the initial wheel calamity. One initial wheel was equivalent to 50,000 initial wheels, which was equivalent to billions of universe years. Because the origin tribulation divine king's previous universe had passed the one initial wheel calamity, speaking of which, from the many worlds he sensed in the river of time, he could clearly see the development of their cultures. This meant that he could enter them in the future to collect God power of faith. Wang Feng was quite familiar with the systems of some of the worlds. The reconstruction of the ancestral realm would definitely be inseparable. If he wanted to reach the level of the origin tribulation divine king's previous universe, these were far from enough. The God power of faith was more or less enough to start the process. As he thought about it, Wang Feng's mind suddenly moved. Those warriors seemed a little strange. At the same time, on the other side, the general waited quietly. After a while, he saw the endless stream of light suddenly leave a crack. A divine figure bathed in light descended from above. "Greetings, Spirit Sovereign." The general hurriedly kowtowed and said, "Spirit Sovereign, do you have any instructions from our God?" Spirit Sovereigns were the subordinates of our God. In the divine world, their status was only second to the God they believed in. If a God wanted to nurture a spiritual venerable, it would usually require a large amount of divine power of faith, as well as the origin of the world and the power of the world's providence. The power of providence of a world was closely related to the most mysterious will of destiny in the universe, so it was extremely difficult to obtain. Cultivating a spiritual venerable was not an easy task for a god. The divine shadow in front of him was the head spiritual venerable under my god, Bayun's spiritual venerable. My god has already investigated and found that there are no heavenly god-level powerhouses. What you've seen should be fake heavenly God-level existences that are preparing to undergo their heavenly tribulations in this universe. He's not a true heavenly God. The spiritual venerable spoke slowly. His magnificent divine voice couldn't cause any ripples in this long river of time, but it could clearly reach the souls of all of them. I must obtain the Douluo divine world. A mere false sky God dares to cultivate in the river of time. That's simply courting death. The cloud venerate's tone was calm, as if there were no emotions at all. He's not dead, but because this space-time turbulence is too weak. When he spoke up to here, Cloud Venerate suddenly waved his hand. An item that looked like a gourd landed. This is a heavenly, god-level treasure, the time-concealing purple gourd. There's a space-devouring beast imprisoned inside. This beast is extremely dangerous and belongs to the top-notch, Holy Seed clan in the universe. My god has captured one. This beast only has one use, and that is to enter the river of time and space and stir up trouble. It can cause space-time disasters and create even more powerful space-time storms. The cloud venerate's divine shadow started to drift. You just need to release it later and cause even more space-time turbulence. Those few false sky gods that are preparing to undergo their heavenly tribulations will definitely escape from the river of time and space. Otherwise, only death awaits them. When the time comes, you can use this gourd to capture this space-devouring beast. Remember, this beast can only be captured by this gourd. If it's not captured, this universe river will definitely be devoured completely. When the time comes, not to mention the Douluo divine world, all the worlds in this universe will be destroyed. My god won't be able to spread his faith here. The general took the gourd and nodded solemnly. All right, this is the river of time and space. I can't stay here for long. I hope you can complete my god's mission. The divine shadow gradually disappeared. The general held the gourd with an excited expression. My god is indeed my god. He really has a way. After the cloud venerate left, the general immediately waved his hand valiantly and spiritedly. Retreat. The 300 purple blood warriors retreated together. The Holy Seed's kin was an incredible holy artifact. In the divine system universe, only my god had the strength and opportunity to possess a treasure of this level before becoming a sky god. The general held the purple gourd in his hand. It was engraved with dense patterns. This gourd was also a treasure. Normally, he wouldn't be able to use a treasure of this level. However, with my god's oracle, he could temporarily use this gourd. The general softly chanted the oracle. In an instant, the gourd shone brightly and a purple light shot out from the mouth of the gourd. Urgently, a gigantic beast appeared in front of them. This gigantic beast wasn't huge. It was only 2 to 3 times bigger than them. However, the moment this gigantic beast appeared, the general felt an intense sense of fear. The gigantic beast seemed to be covered in spikes. Its entire body was in the shape of waves. Its eyes were cold and murderous. Its gaze swept across the purple blood warriors. It didn't seem to be interested in them. The general held the purple gourd in his hand. His heart was beating wildly. However, he knew that this kind of void-swallowing beast had no interest in normal life forms. It was only interested in the space-time power in the river of time. It wouldn't even be interested in eating desolate breedkin of their level. Even if it did, it might spit it out due to its poor appetite. As expected, after the void-swallowing beast glanced at them, it looked at the streams of light around it. In an instant, its eyes shone brightly. "Go!" the general muttered in a low voice. The void-swallowing beast let out a long roar and dived into the endless streams of light. Almost instantly, the general felt an undercurrent. It was constantly rioting from the streams of light around them. The undercurrent gradually gathered and formed a space-time turbulence. Finally, It converged into a space-time storm. The general was extremely shocked. The endless streams of light started to riot under the void, swallowing beasts, overturning waves. The space-time turbulence was even more violent than before. It converged into a space-time storm and bombarded the nodes of the river of time. Then it gradually moved further away. Those gods will probably retreat in such a violent space-time storm. This means that the heavenly realm will definitely suffer from an even more violent space-time storm. At the same time, Wang Fengxin felt something. He was overjoyed. A new space-time storm has appeared. Chapter 1731. A space-time storm was more powerful than the space-time turbulence. Like the divine world, in the space-time turbulence, it might only be blown away. Weaker gods would find it difficult to survive. However, existences like god-kings could still survive with the divine world as a barrier. The impact of the turbulence was not strong. The space-time energy was not as pure as in the river of time, so the absorption rate was not high. However, a space-time storm was different. A storm of this level could easily tear the divine world into pieces. Even countless worlds in the universe would be destroyed because of it. In the river of time, a space-time storm was one of the most serious storms. Moreover, the area it covered was far greater than the space-time turbulence. Wang Feng did not expect a space-time storm to appear. However, this was like someone giving him a pillow when he was sleepy. This is a bit of a coincidence. A space-time storm is definitely not created for no reason. Wang Feng reined in his thoughts of cultivation and sensed his surroundings. After a short while, Wang Feng sensed that a unique giant beast was surging and flipping through the sea in this long river of time. What is this thing? Wang Feng did not recognize this giant beast. However, a life form that could cause trouble in the river of time was naturally not a simple giant beast. This is an opportunity, Wang Fengxin said. This giant beast caused a storm in the river of time. The space-time energy would be imbalanced in a large area. It was a good opportunity for him to expand and absorb the space-time energy. Taking advantage of the space-time storm, the area that he could absorb would be larger and larger. The space-time storm is still dangerous. My initial wheel soul can be safe in the storm, but Shiyu and Yin Qingju I can't. Wang Feng thought for a few seconds and had an idea. Wang Feng, what's going on? At this time, Shiyu and Yin Qingju woke up and looked at Wang Feng. A special space-time giant beast is causing trouble in the river of time. It caused a space-time storm that is more serious than the space-time turbulence. Wang Feng explained simply. A space-time storm? Shiyu looked at the storm caused by the flowing light around her. The space-time energy contained in the flowing light seemed to be tearing everything apart. He was a little shocked in his heart. She had never encountered space-time turbulence, let alone a space-time storm. What idea do you have? Yin Qingju asked directly. My primordial wheel soul isn't affected, but you aren't, said Wang Feng with a slight nod. The spatial storm's tearing force is too strong. There's a way. I can combine my two souls and form an even stronger primordial soul. Through the fusion of yin and yang, I can cultivate with the two of you at the same time. This way, I can protect you. But you have two souls as one. How can you cultivate with two yin souls at the same time? If you can't achieve the fusion of yin and yang, then you won't be able to cultivate the origin. Shiyu asked. The origin of the intersection of yin and yang was a yin soul and a yang soul. Only by reaching a peaceful state could one succeed in cultivation. With Wang Feng's two souls as one, the primordial soul that he condensed into his primordial wheel was naturally more powerful. He was even less afraid of the space-time storm. The only problem was how to cultivate it. Wang Feng thought about it and said, the yin-yang intersection origin is indeed like that, but I have other methods. The yin-yang intersection origin can be cultivated at the same time other than the yin soul and yang soul. As long as he could achieve the fusion of yin and yang, it would be fine. One yang soul and two yin souls are naturally unable to cultivate. However, if one wants to combine yin and yang, one does not only rely on the yang soul and yin soul to cultivate. She didn't quite understand. Yin Qingjue understood. Yin and Yang intersection. The so-called intersection is the fusion of yin and yang. Other than cultivating the yang soul and yin soul one-on-one. If the two souls have spiritual intercourse, they can also cultivate this origin and strengthen their own souls. Yin Qingjue said, in short, through spiritual intercourse, it will be fine. This will be faster than cultivating with just the yang soul and yin soul. Shiyu went silent. At this moment, they were both in the soul state. Spiritual intercourse meant that not only did the two souls have to be completely open, they also had to have their souls fused. This kind of fusion was even more intimate than physical intercourse. The physical intercourse between mortals was a matter of going in and out. However, this kind of spiritual intercourse required the fusion of the soul energy of both parties. It was a fusion of energy. It was like two special types of energy gathering in the same space and fusing. There was no distinction between you and me. There's another method. The two of you can temporarily fuse together and become a stronger yin soul. You can cultivate with the yang soul after the fusion of my two souls. This way, you won't be affected by the space-time storm. Wang Feng said, this method only requires the fusion of your souls. Which one will you choose? The first one. The second one. Two different answers appeared. Wang Feng. The first one was Yin Qingjue. The second one was naturally Shiyu. This. Wang Feng looked at the two heavenly Tao incarnations hesitantly. It was not good to have different opinions. Shiyu and Yin Qingjue looked at each other. The first one is better. Yin Qingjue explained. Our souls will be fused. It will be more troublesome to separate when the time comes. Also, the ultimate cultivation method of the yin and yang origin is the fusion of souls that Wang Feng mentioned. Compared to cultivating the yang soul and yin soul, it is more direct. The cultivation speed will be faster, and the soul energy cultivated will be stronger. This is the great Tao of the universe that coincides with the will of yin and yang. There was nothing wrong with what she said. Wouldn't it be more troublesome to separate our souls when the three of us are fused? She retorted, this origin already has the cultivation method of the yin soul and the yang soul. This means that this cultivation method is correct. Since it is correct, why do we need to use other methods? Moreover, you and I are very familiar with each other. There won't be any problems when our souls fuse. Separating will not be more troublesome than fusing our souls. Why do we have to neglect the essentials? Wang Feng looked at the two of them awkwardly. One after another, one after another. Neither of them could convince the other. All right, Wang Feng waved his hand. Then let's go with the second method. Your souls will fuse while the three of us have different thoughts. It is indeed not suitable for our souls to fuse like this. However, both of you are heavenly Tao incarnations and have the same origin. It will be easier for your souls to fuse. Following Wang Feng's command, Shiyu and Yin Qingjue stopped talking. They agreed. Then let's begin. Wang Feng gave the two of them a look. Shiyu and Yin Qingjue looked at each other. Shiyu was quite satisfied with Wang Feng's decision. Yin Qingjue was not, but at this time, she could only listen to Wang Feng. The two souls were close to each other with their palms facing each other. They were only a few centimeters apart. Wang Feng felt a little curious and excited. Yin Qingjue was a soul demon. Although her body was perfect, she was much stronger than a human. Shiyu's soul was in the form of a human and was much smaller than Yin Qingjue. However, it did not look strange. Their palms were facing each other. Their bodies trembled and their soul energies began to fuse. In just a moment, the two souls began to transform into two different streams of light and converge beside Wang Feng. Chapter 1732. Wang Feng widened his eyes slightly. A moment later, a special soul appeared in his line of sight. She was less than 3 meters tall, and her soul exuded a pale golden luster. Her face was hazy like a mirage. At first glance, she looked like Shiyu, but upon closer inspection, She seemed to have turned into Yin Xingjue. Looking again, it was as if neither of them wanted to. It was the appearance of the two after fusion. Let's begin. Wang Feng nodded slightly to the fused soul. Humph. The latter snorted and nodded. Wang Feng felt that it was quite interesting and asked, "Who's in charge now?" "Me." Two different voices overlapped, as if two people were speaking at the same time. Seeing this, Wang Feng stopped asking. Obviously, although Shi Yu and Yin Qingjue's souls had fused and the two souls had fused into a stronger soul, neither side seemed to want the other to be in charge. You'd better be more harmonious and start cultivating. Now that you're in the same soul, once the cultivation starts, it'll be troublesome if you're not harmonious and something goes wrong, Wang Feng reminded. The latter nodded again, indicating that she understood. After solving this problem, Wang Feng began to cultivate. It had to be said that this method had indeed solved the problem of the space-time storm. The fusion of his two souls made the initial wheel's soul stronger and could easily protect the other party from any impact of the storm. Moreover, the fusion of the two souls formed a stronger yin and yang soul, so the cultivation speed was naturally faster. Most importantly, with the support of the space-time storm, the rolling space-time power in the long river of time was violently stirred, forming a storm that gathered around Wang Feng. The torrential space-time power was all absorbed by Wang Feng. This speed is too fast. Wang Fengxin was ecstatic. His initial wheel soul was growing at a speed visible to the naked eye. That huge beast was powerful, causing endless space-time storms, overturning rivers and waves. 1/10 is guaranteed, Wang Fengxin said. He couldn't let go of the giant beast. How could he miss such a good tool? If he had the chance to enter the long river of time and space again in the future, it would be even better. At this moment, the void-swallowing beast stirred wildly in the river of time and space as though it was demonstrating how terrifying it was. He was like a fish that had entered the sea, swimming freely in the river of space-time. Everywhere they passed, space-time storms would blow up. However, the void-swallowing beast quickly realized that something wasn't quite right. It could overturn the seas and rivers in this long river of time because it used the power of time and space as its food. Only by twisting this calm, long river of time could it absorb the power of time and space and be full. The space-time storm that rose from the sea contained a large amount of space-time power, so it was effortless to devour it. Otherwise, it would not have caused such a huge space-time storm. It was all for the sake of a full meal. However, not long after the space-time storm started, it quickly disappeared. It was a void-swallowing beast, but it had disappeared before it even had a chance to eat something warm. It was angry. He began to use all of his power to create an even bigger space-time storm. But at the same time, the space-time storm swept up and disappeared at an extremely fast speed. The more furious the void-swallowing beast was, the more majestic and terrifying the space-time storm it stirred up became. On the other side, the 300 purple blood warriors looked at the space-time storm one after another, and their souls trembled. To be able to cause such a terrifying storm in the long river of time, only this kind of holy seed's kin, the void-swallowing beast, can do it. A deputy general sighed. This endless space-time storm, who knows how many worlds have been overturned. I'm afraid that fake heavenly god won't be able to return in time. This void-swallowing beast was obtained by our god by chance. Everything was destined to be used here. The general shook his head slightly. The karma of a universe is unavoidable. The general continued that Douluo divine world will definitely not be able to escape this calamity. That fake heavenly god should be the top peerless genius in this universe. It's a pity that he still can't escape our god's glory. The 300 purple blood warriors were extremely solemn. Look, that void-swallowing beast has already entered its state. A deputy general pointed at the endless storm ahead. They could no longer see anything in front of them that was covered by the space-time storm. They didn't dare to get close. This level of space-time storm was too abnormal. Only heavenly gods who had transcended the long river of time could withstand it. Even if they had divine light protecting them, once they entered, they would definitely be torn apart. The space-time storm was getting more and more violent. This level of space-time disaster would indicate the collapse and annihilation of countless worlds. One could imagine how destructive this void-swallowing beast was. A holy seedskin. The general's tone was filled with reverence. It had the ability to easily destroy everything. The general led the warriors and watched quietly. At this moment, the general held the purple gold gourd in his hand and felt a little heroic. Although this was a divine item temporarily bestowed by our God and could only command this void-swallowing beast, no matter what, he was still the one commanding this void-swallowing beast. Just like that, an unknown amount of time passed. General, why does the situation seem a little strange? Look, the space-time storm has become smaller. Suddenly, a deputy general pointed to the front and asked. The general smiled calmly and said, "Don't worry, the void-swallowing beast caused the space-time storm to eat. At this moment, it must have eaten its fill. Naturally, the space-time storm will slowly weaken. But at this moment, that fake heavenly god must have already disappeared. The Douluo divine world is also affected by this space-time storm and will definitely be blown into it." The deputy general was enlightened. Since it's full, it's time to take this void-swallowing beast back. The general chanted the divine decree and raised the purple gold gourd, intending to take the void-swallowing beast back. However, there was no movement. The void-swallowing beast seemed to not hear the divine decree, and the purple gold gourd did not react either. The general frowned slightly. Under the divine decree, the void-swallowing beast could not disobey the divine decree. No matter how powerful it was only a kin of the divine decree. "General, what's wrong?" the deputy general asked. "Nothing. Maybe the void-swallowing beast is too full. It doesn't want to return to the purple gold gourd for now." The general pondered for a moment and said, "Let me try again." The general tried again. He tried dozens of times. There was no reaction. He felt that something was wrong. Very wrong. What's going on? Is the void-swallowing beast ignoring the divine decree? The general's heart skipped a beat. He was very puzzled, but he did not dare to act rashly. Until the space-time storm gradually disappeared. Finally, the void-swallowing beast's appearance appeared in the stream of light. However, when the general's gaze landed on the void-swallowing beast's body, he was shocked. The void-swallowing beast that had just come out of the purple gold gourd had shrunk countless times. It looked extremely tired, like an old bull that had been plowing the ground for hundreds of years. What's going on? Countless questions popped up in the general's mind. Then he saw an extremely dazzling light shining in the distance. The river of time churned, but it could not move the figure in the center of the light. In an instant, the river of time stopped moving. Under that light, everything seemed to have returned to normal. It's that fake heavenly god. The general's heart trembled. He looked at the figure in horror. He's still here. Chapter 1733. The storm gradually calmed down. Wang Feng's soul woke up from the cultivation state. His eyes seemed to reflect the entire river of time, flashing with streams of light. Not bad. The space-time storm calmed down, and even the space-time turbulence disappeared. The universe's long river of time also calmed down. In a calm state, it was difficult for Wang Feng to pry the long river of time and trigger a riot of space-time power to cultivate. After all, the long river of time was too huge. Wang Feng could easily use the long river of time in the God world and Dark Demon world to cultivate because the long river of time was too small in comparison. With the support of Heaven Dao, he could naturally do it. However, Wang Feng could not pry the long river of time completely. Even if he could pry a part of it, the speed of cultivation would definitely not be fast. To completely absorb the space-time power of the long river of time, it would take a long time. Unlike this time, there was a special giant beast that was constantly triggering the space-time storm. In a short period of time, a large amount of space-time power was easily absorbed by Wang Feng. The cultivation this time, other than the soul reaching a higher level in the beginning wheel, the biggest benefit was that the Pangu axe had already condensed the true soul. In any case, I have absorbed at least 1/5 of the space-time power of the long river of time. The soul power cultivated through the intersection of yin and yang has completed the last remnant soul of the Pangu axe and become the true soul. The true soul contained the complete will of splitting open the sky. However, that was only the true soul. It was not the real Pangu axe. If he wanted to materialize it, it might need an uncountable amount of divine power of faith, just like the chaos green lotus. However, to Wang Feng, the only difference between materialization and true soul was the amount of divine power consumed each time he used it. Actually, there wouldn't be much of a change in power. After materialization, the Pangu axe would be a real existence, which meant that Wang Feng could use it anytime and anywhere. The innate treasure that the Pangu axe had turned into could also be given to others. As for the true soul, every time he used it, he would need to spend a large amount of divine power to condense it. At the same time, the innate treasure that the true soul had turned into was the same, so it could not be given to others. Only he could use it. It was the same for the chaos green lotus. As the existence of the true soul, all the innate treasures that the chaos green lotus had turned into could only be used by him, because they were condensed by his divine power. After materializing, the chaotic green lotus would truly exist and could be given to others to use. Next, I need to combine the three souls. Then, I need to comprehend the will of creation and become a universe-level life form. Then, I can begin to rebuild the ancestral realm. Wang Feng took a deep breath. He looked at Shiyu and Yin Qingjue beside him. Their souls had already been separated, and their souls were shining brightly. Clearly, he had gained a lot from this cultivation. They were the embodiment of the heavenly Tao. The stronger their souls were, the stronger the laws of the divine world and the dark devil world. This was a good thing for the god world and dark demon world. It was also a good thing for them. However, in comparison, the benefits they obtained were far inferior to Wang Feng's cultivation. All right, what about that giant beast? Wang Fengxin's heart stirred. This giant beast had contributed greatly to his cultivation, so he could not let it go so easily. Sensing his surroundings, Wang Feng quickly spotted the giant beast. At this moment, the giant beast was lying dispiritedly on the edge of a stream of light. Its eyes were dull and motionless. He looked like he was dead. Wang Feng was stunned. You don't seem to be in a good condition. You seem to have shrunk quite a bit. He walked over and looked at the giant beast. Roar! The void-swallowing beast seemed to have known that Wang Feng was coming over. It opened its mouth and let out a silent roar at Wang Feng. It seemed to be extremely angry, but it did not even speak in an angry tone. Hey, you seem to be very angry, but you can't do anything about it. Wang Feng chuckled. This giant beast definitely didn't come here for no reason. Thinking about it for a moment, he knew that it probably had a great background. If he was not wrong, it must have been caused by the warriors he sensed earlier. As for its intention, it was obvious that it was not here to help him. It was most likely here to cause trouble, because the space-time storm just now was more powerful and troublesome than the space-time turbulence. The space-time storm could only be caused to disrupt his cultivation. However, he did not expect that it would backfire and benefit him instead. Little thing, I'll give you a chance. Follow me. Wang Feng used his soul consciousness to communicate with the giant beast so that it could understand his meaning. Despicable fake god, Scram. The void-swallowing beast replied angrily. Wang Feng smiled. He knew the giant beast's current state. He could sense it with his senses. It was very hungry. Why was it hungry? Wang Feng also knew. A giant beast that could overturn the river and waves in the river of time must eat space-time energy. Unfortunately, he had absorbed all of the space-time energy just now. It would be strange if it was not hungry. It probably caused the space-time storm to devour the space-time energy. Wang Feng opened his palm and gently pulled. A ray of light hovered in Wang Feng's palm, then began to spin and temper, finally condensing into a faint silver thread. This thread was the tempered space-time energy. In an instant, the void-swallowing beast's eyes burst out with desire. "Do you want to eat it?" Wang Feng asked. The tempered space-time energy was a peerless delicacy to this giant beast. The void-swallowing beast nodded unwillingly. It was very hungry. Wang Feng heard the answer and gently blew on the silver thread. It disappeared. The void-swallowing beast immediately became anxious, but did not have the slightest strength at this time, so it could only stare at Wang Feng. "Fake God, don't go too far. You just used the space-time storm I caused to devour the space-time energy that should have belonged to me. I could be considered to have helped you, but now you don't even give me a strand of space-time energy. This is too much." The void-swallowing beast was extremely angry. "What a joke." Wang Feng shook his head. "The guy behind you who sent you, he wants to deal with me, right? In other words, you were used to deal with me, not to help me. But you didn't expect that the space-time storm not only didn't hinder me, but also helped me. I'm already very kind to you by not killing you. Do you think I don't know anything?" The void-swallowing beast immediately stopped talking. That was indeed the case. It did not think that it could deceive this cunning fake god with those words. "You now only have two paths, either die, or become a tool for my future cultivation." Wang Feng sneered. "Of course I won't let you starve. You can grow in the river of time. Others might be afraid of you, but I'm not. You can't escape even if you want to." Wang Feng said straightforwardly. After saying that, Wang Feng condensed another strand of space-time energy in his palm. The void-swallowing beast stared at that strand of space-time energy for a long time before shaking its head. "No, I already believe in a god. I've been imprinted with the mark of a god. If I betray him, I will be judged by the rules of the god system universe and will not be able to escape death. Don't you know the rules there?" Chapter 1734. God's Mark? God System Universe? Wang Feng frowned slightly. The space-swallowing beast seemed to have noticed Wang Feng's confusion and said in surprise, "You are a fake god. Could it be that you're not a god from the God System Universe?" "That's right. This river of time and space doesn't belong to the God System Universe. Could it be that you are a fake god from this universe?" A fake god from a local universe can enter the river of time and space to cultivate. Only a god who has transcended the river of time can do that. Are you a god from this universe? The space-swallowing beast's last sentence was filled with shock. Wang Feng was silent. He could roughly guess who the god behind this space-swallowing beast was. It should be the god from another universe that the black-clothed men in Soul World's main body believed in. God System Universe, Multiverse. "A beast doesn't serve two masters," said the space-swallowing beast. "Kill me." Wang Feng. "What backbone? Then if I kill the god behind you, will you be ownerless?" asked Wang Feng. The space-swallowing beast. The space-swallowing beast thought for a moment and said, "I am a descendant of a god. Once a god dies, the power we obtain from the god will disappear. Most of it will die with the god. I'm special. I won't die with the god. You are ownerless." "That's good." Wang Feng nodded. "I advise you not to act recklessly," reminded the space-swallowing beast. "You are just a god from a unit universe. There are many gods in the God System Universe. If you dare to kill a god from the God System Universe, it is equivalent to offending the entire God System Universe, unless you start a god war and defeat the other party fair and square." "Oh," Wang Feng smiled. "There is such a thing as fair and square?" "Of course. Life forms in the God System Universe are born as gods. In terms of power level, they are fake gods. The power level there is extremely high. Only those who have reached the level of gods can barely be considered strong." Wang Feng understood. The sky god mentioned by the giant beast should be a universe-level life form. It was just a different name. But in the God System Universe, being born as a god was a bit powerful. "You're just a god. If you want to kill the god I believe in now, it is unrealistic. In order to initiate a normal divinity battle, both sides would need to use their own divine domains to fight. The God system in the God system universe is complete, and the God I believe in is a rare genius God in the God system universe. The space-swallowing beast looked at the space-time power and said, "No, although you're a native heavenly God, you are not from the system of the God system universe." Instead, he relied on his own cultivation to become a heavenly God. In the God system universe, they rely on their own God domain and the power of will of their believers to become heavenly gods. Wang Feng narrowed his eyes. Actually, he wasn't a universe-level life form yet. This was because he had yet to fully comprehend the will of split the heavens. However, according to the space-swallowing beast, could there be other ways to become a universe-level life form? How could he become a heavenly God just by relying on the divine domain and the power of will of his believers? Impossible. If that were the case, then the godly monarchs of the Douluo divine realm wouldn't have been stuck by the rules. This was because most of the gods in the Douluo divine realm relied on the power of faith to manifest their godhood. Divine system universe. This must have been developed to its peak. It seems similar to the Douluo divine world, but it's actually a world of difference. Wang Fengxin said. However, what made Wang Feng feel strange was that he could become a universe-level life form without comprehending the will of the universe. If that was the case, then the system in the God system universe might really be a set. Of course, it could also be that he didn't know much about the universe-level life form and hadn't seen much. Comprehending the will of the universe and becoming a universe-level life form might be the most difficult and troublesome way. No matter what, the words of this giant beast made Wang Feng see something. If what you said is true, Wang Feng pondered for a moment, then I can't do it by force. Wang Feng felt that he might be able to kill the god behind this space-swallowing beast with one strike of his axe. It was true. He gave his own clan tribe a mere dozen million-year soul rings and dared to show off in the Douluo world. This kind of god's true strength was definitely not strong. At most, it was at Little Three's current strength. It was just that the other party was born in the God system universe and had a different system. Compared to the Douluo divine world, it was more high-end, complex, and complete. That was why he looked very powerful. You can try. The space-swallowing beast said indifferently. The reason why the space-swallowing beast said those words was to make Wang Fengxin hesitate and not kill it. In the God system universe, other than the heavenly gods, you can only be considered strong. What about those stronger than that? Wang Feng asked again. Above the heavenly gods are the paramount gods. Above the paramount gods are the primal cosmos gods. After that, there's nothing. The space-swallowing beast added, "At least I don't know. The god system that my god imparted to me is only the primal cosmos gods." Wang Feng's eyelids twitched. Wang Feng didn't know about the paramount gods. But this primal cosmos god seemed different. The word primal wasn't simple. One primal was equivalent to 50,000 origin wheels, and ordinary universe-level life forms would undergo one cosmos calamity per origin wheel. The moment they lived past one primal, it was equivalent to surviving 50,000 cosmos calamities. For a universe-level life form to live to this stage, it wasn't a matter of strength anymore. Like the unit universe that Wang Feng was in, the other party could probably destroy it with a flick of his finger. 1,000,000,000,000 worlds would shatter in an instant. That Tians hadn't even crossed a single cosmos calamity. They had just obtained the cosmos willpower and stepped into the universe-level life form. The God system universe isn't simple. I can't act recklessly. Wang Fengxin pondered. With his current status, the moment he started fighting, he wouldn't be the only one affected. 1,000,000,000,000 lives would be involved. Even if most of them weren't related to him, and Wang Feng didn't care, there were still quite a few that were related. The god behind this gigantic beast has dealt with me time and time again. I can't just sit back and do nothing. Wang Feng pondered and had a plan in his heart. He then looked at those warriors on the other side. In an instant, the general leading the 300 purple blood warriors quivered. But being a clan of a god, he naturally couldn't be afraid. The general's expression remained unchanged. He suppressed the throbbing in his heart and stared at Wang Feng. Oomph. Wang Feng snorted coldly. In an instant, he arrived in front of these warriors. That gigantic beast was released by you all? Wang Feng looked at these warriors indifferently. The god behind you all wants to deal with me? Just this? The general wanted to speak, but he realized that under the immense pressure, he couldn't even send out a trace of thought. A native false sky god from the desolate universe. No, from the looks of it, he wasn't just a simple false sky god. His aura was one level stronger than my god. This meant that he had become a true sky god, a native sky god from the universe. No matter how native he was still a sky god. Wang Feng's gaze landed on the general's purple gold gourd and seemed to sense something. The aura of this gourd had merged with the space-swallowing beast. Chapter 1735. God System Universe. Yuntian Palace in a God Domain. The figure sitting cross-legged at the top of the palace suddenly saw the light recede. It was an extremely handsome young man who exuded a godlike aura. Not long after, a door of light appeared outside Yuntian Palace. The purple-blooded warrior walked out from the door. "Oh, you're back." The young man frowned. "Something's not right. Baiyun, did you do as I said?" As a god's minion, the young man obviously knew that something was wrong with the purple blood warriors. It was as if they had lost a battle. Among the wild breeds, the purple blood warriors were unafraid of death and had unlimited strength. They would not show any fear in the face of an undefeatable enemy and would never lower their heads. But it was obvious that the 300 purple blood warriors, including the leader, General Wufeng, had lowered his head. Baiyun's spirit venerable appeared at the young man's feet and said respectfully, "My god, everything is as you said." I gave the time purple gourd to Wufeng and asked him to summon the space-swallowing beast to create a space-time storm to deal with the fake god. But I did not sense the purple gourd's aura from him, the young man said coldly. Baiyun's spirit venerable was stunned and took a deep breath. My god's divine domain contained pure origin spiritual energy. Breathing in and out should have been an enjoyable experience. But Baiyun's spirit venerable felt suffocated. At this moment, the 300 purple blood warriors arrived outside Yuntian Palace. The leading general's eyes were lifeless as he looked at the indescribably majestic palace on top of the clouds. He abruptly knelt down. He had failed. Not only had he failed, but he had also lost the treasure that my god had temporarily bestowed upon him, as well as the sacred minion. This sin was enough for him to die 10,000 times under God's punishment. He knelt for a long time. The young man at the top of the palace said calmly, "It seems that not only have you failed your mission, but you have also lost the purple gourd and the space-swallowing beast." The general knelt in the clouds, not daring to raise his head, as if he was a prisoner waiting to be executed on the guillotine. "Get up," the young man said slowly. "It's not your fault." "No." The general's voice suddenly rose, and he said emotionally, "My God, punish us. It's our fault. It's our fault that brought such a great loss to our god." The young man remained silent. As a clan that believed in the gods, they would not have any doubts about the gods they believed in. The reverence of the gods was inviolable, and the gods would not make mistakes. The young man waved his hand, and a mighty force pulled the general up. "Wufeng, tell me everything that happened," Qin Wentian said. The young man did not pursue who was right or wrong at this time, but asked calmly. The general wanted to continue kneeling, as if this was the only way to redeem some of his wrongdoings. However, he couldn't bring himself to kneel. When he heard the order, he immediately recounted everything he had seen and heard, as well as what Wang Feng had said. "So, you are a native heavenly god. You can even cultivate the power of space-time. Even the space-time storms are unable to do anything to you." After listening, the young man was speechless for a long time. He looked at the sky of his god domain, and an interesting expression appeared on his face. Native heavenly gods are all promoted from their own universe, and they have powerful combat strength. Their system is usually self-contained, and it doesn't match with our god system universe. However, It is also because of this that native heavenly gods often think that they are invincible in their own universe. It actually wants to start a god war against me. This must be what the space-swallowing beast told him. The young man chuckled. The space-swallowing beast is a special sacred clan. It exists in the river of time, and it is extremely rare. I used a special method to obtain it, so it must be unwilling. On the surface, it believes in me, but in its heart, it only believes in the will of time. It wants to take this opportunity to use this native heavenly god to escape from my control. Instigate a god war? A native heavenly god? The young man's expression was calm, and there was no trace of disdain or seriousness in his eyes. Baiyun Spirit Venerable said in a low voice, God Chi, do you need me to call back the other 3 Spirit Venerables? This is related to the god domain. Call them back. The young man said calmly. After all, he is a heavenly god. Since he dares to start a god war against me, I will let him know the rules of the god system universe. As for the space-swallowing beast, how can it escape from my control? Baiyun, go to the star of gods in the center of the god system universe and inform the Dongwang god system that I am in about this matter. A native heavenly god wants to start a god war against a false god of my god system universe. Baiyun Spirit Venerable nodded slightly and understood the intention of his god. He wanted to expand the influence of this matter. Under the god system universe, there were many universes. Occasionally, 1 or 2 native heavenly gods would be born in these universes. However, it was very difficult for native heavenly gods to be absorbed by the god system universe. Even before they became heavenly gods, it was very difficult for them to know about the god system universe. Once they knew that the god system universe was an invincible existence in their own universe, they would naturally think that they were invincible in their own universe. They would look down on the god system universe. Moreover, the native heavenly gods became heavenly gods after going through unimaginable hardships. There is only one native heavenly god in the entire universe. They must be extremely arrogant. Many native heavenly gods even dared to directly challenge the god system universe. As a result, the god system universe that originally wanted to absorb these native heavenly gods would naturally not tolerate it. In terms of individual combat power, the native heavenly gods and the god system universe's heavenly gods were not much different. Due to the uniqueness of the native heavenly gods, they might be stronger. However, the god system universe had its own rules. Individual combat power was not the measure of a heavenly god's combat power. The total combat power of a heavenly god could only be measured by the combined power of the god system universe's heavenly gods. Naturally, many native heavenly gods relied on their own strength to challenge the god system universe. The results were mostly tragic. The first native heavenly gods who challenged the god system universe were unreasonable. They used their own strength to fight against the heavenly gods of the god system universe. No matter who won or lost, the outcome was extremely tragic. Later, the native heavenly gods who appeared roughly knew about this and stayed away from the god system universe. There were also some who wanted to use the rules of the god system universe to fight against the heavenly gods of the god system universe. However, it was a pity that so far, no native heavenly god had succeeded. There were too many reasons. The Cloud Venerate knew the reason why Wu God did this. He wanted to use this native heavenly god to warn the other native heavenly gods. Not to mention challenging a heavenly god. It was impossible for a native heavenly god to challenge a false god of the god system universe through the god system universe. The Cloud Venerate immediately took action. The Awakening God was the youngest false god of the Donghuang divine system in the god system universe. He had the greatest potential and was highly likely to become a heavenly god at the age of 10,000. He was extremely famous. End of this chapter. Chapter 1736. But Baiyun Spirit Sage, as the closest spirit sage to Qi, naturally knew. In addition to the Dongwang divine system, there were thousands of different divine systems in the divine system universe. In the entire divine system universe, the Dongwang divine system belonged to the bottom and was not well known. Qi Shun wanted to use this opportunity to strengthen the reputation of the Dongwang divine system and his own reputation. After all, a false god defeating a heavenly god and crossing a huge distance was enough to make the entire god system talk about it enthusiastically. It was a shocking event, even if this heavenly god was a native heavenly god. Wang Feng looked at the purple gold gourd in his hand and pinched his chin. The divine system universe should be very interesting. Wang Feng waited and thought for a while. He had a vague feeling. Maybe the disappearance of the primitive world had something to do with this divine system universe. Even the origin tribulation divine king might have something to do with this divine system universe. After thinking about it, Wang Feng left the long river of time. Because he couldn't cultivate in this long river of time for a long time, this space-swallowing beast needed to rest for a while before it could be used again. Otherwise, if it was overworked, this giant beast would not live for long. He couldn't kill the goose that laid the golden eggs. Take it slow. The appearance of the space-time turbulence not only brought an opportunity, it also broke the barrier between the long river of time of the divine world and this long river of time. Although this long river of time of the universe contained countless branches of time, the branches of time symbolized the direction of billions of worlds. The flow of time of these worlds was not equal to the main long river of time. The flow of time between them was different. There was a layer of space-time barrier, and the power of space-time was not the same. Otherwise, the flow of time of those worlds would be exactly the same. Now, the appearance of the space-time turbulence broke this barrier, which meant that the flow of time of the divine world was the same as this main long river of time. There were advantages and disadvantages. The advantage was that Wang Feng could swim to this main long river of time through the long river of time of the divine world and cultivate at any time. The disadvantage was that after the flow of time was matched, the entire universe might be dominated by the Douluo divine world. The Douluo divine world would be the center of this universe. The rules of the Douluo divine world would change. God King would no longer be the limit, and the upper limit would become higher. As for how high it would become, that would depend on the gods of the Douluo divine realm. At the same time, the gods of the Douluo divine realm were no longer immortal in the divine realm. Compared to this universe, their lifespan was at most one origin wheel. Unless he became a universe-level life form and passed his own calamity, it would be hard for him to live past this number. Wang Feng and Shiyu returned to the god world. He explained the situation to Shiyu. So the god realm will change greatly in the future? Shiyu asked. There won't be any major changes. It's just that the flow of time has aligned with the universe, Wang Feng said. Alignment? The Douluo divine realm will slowly become the center of this universe. The rules of the god realm will change a little. As for the specifics, it will depend on your own perception. After all, you are the heavenly Tao of the god realm. The Douluo divine world, the reincarnation sea. She sensed for a long time before saying, it seems that nothing has changed. Wang Feng shook his head and said, you won't be able to sense it in a short period of time. After the flow of time is the same, it will slowly change. At the very least, it will take a few decades, right? How can it be so fast? Shiyu nodded slightly. A few decades was actually very short in the god realm. Then what are you going to do next? Shiyu looked at him. Are you really going to engage in a god war with the false god from the god system universe? Shiyu had never heard of the god system universe. She had never heard of it from the origin tribulation god king. It was very unfamiliar. Yan Qingjue had also never heard of it. Of course, it was possible that the origin tribulation god king had never told them. Speaking of which, Wang Feng didn't get the last special essence of the origin tribulation god king from the Qianrenshue. He couldn't get the complete inheritance of the origin tribulation god king. Perhaps the complete inheritance of the origin tribulation god king was related to the god system universe. Wang Feng wanted to know more about the god system universe, but the void-swallowing beast only knew a little about it. Then what else? Wang Feng said, That false god from the god system universe covets this universe. Previously in the Douluo world, I met a group of his family members who wanted to sacrifice the soul beasts in the extreme north. I can't tolerate this kind of thing. If we don't deal with him, this entire universe, including the God Realm and Dark Demon Realm, may become his family members. Wang Feng said, "Don't tell me you want to become his family members? Actually, the key is that guy isn't very strong. The power he gives you is also very limited. It's obviously impossible to touch the world of this universe." She was silent for a moment. This was the truth. Family members had faith. Just like the God Realm had many planes, the gods of the God Realm would spread their power in those small planes and let the mortals of the small planes worship them. There was nothing wrong with this. However, a mere false god wanted to subdue them and make them believe in a false god. Wasn't this a joke? Did he really look down on this universe? Then can you beat him? She couldn't help but ask. In terms of individual combat, power, Wang Feng said, "I can kill him with one axe, maybe." Shiyu. So weak? Shiyu was a little surprised. With this kind of strength, you want us to become his family members? We might as well become your family members. Speaking of this, a smile appeared on Shiyu's face. Might as well believe in you. You're the heavenly Tao of a great world. You can say that. Wang Feng shook his head. The God system universe is different if you believe in me. But I can't give you more power now. Where will your faith come from? The essence of the faith cultivation system was, you want me to believe in you, but you have to give me benefits that are useful to me, right? It wasn't something that could be casually said. Just like how mortals made a wish to gods. Once the mortals gathered the power of faith, the wish was successful. If the gods could do it, then the mortals would believe in you, and this wisp of life's power of faith would belong to you. If you couldn't do it, why should I believe in you? Then the power of faith naturally wouldn't belong to you. For an existence at Shiyu's level, if you wanted her to believe in you, it wasn't as simple as giving her a bit of power and saving her life. If you can survive the universe calamity, I'll believe in you, Shiyu said half-jokingly. Wang Feng was stunned. He knew that this universe was about to pass the universe calamity. At that time, as the center of the universe, the Douluo divine world would bear the brunt and be destroyed. This kind of universe calamity was produced according to the age of the universe. This universe already had one cycle of age, so it would produce a universe calamity. And the universe life form's initial cycle was calculated according to their age. The power level was not on the same level. Are you serious? Wang Feng couldn't help but ask. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.